From the kingdom of Tirasleen to the dread mines of Skelland to the shadows of Nockmar and the party in the Wildwood, because that's the vibe we're trying to capture tonight. This is our season 1 recap party for Disney Plus's Willow. The season is over. We're all very depressed about it, but we were not going to go out without celebrating this incredible show. I am here with a murderer's row of guests. Everybody get ready. The camera's about to hit you. Boom. Look at that. Give you a little bit of timing. So I wrote everybody's intros because I'm a professional. I'm going to intro Ken like he's not here all the time. He is the creator and executive producer here on Casterly Talk, as well as the co-creator of the Force Center podcast feed, the host of The Blathering, and the author of Why We Love Star Wars, Ken Knapsack. Ken, how are you?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to unmute my own mic. I'm the Borman of the group, meaning I'm old and I know this isn't my story, and I love it.
And good night. Ken is gone.
Wait, are we going to see you take a shower in a waterfall? Is that what's happening?
You got to do that first.
Oh, yeah, that is on my Brand Army account. Just sign up. $9.99
Wow, not even OnlyFans, Brand Army. You're
Brand Army.
I love that. That's really nice. Let's see if this gentleman has a Brand Army or an OnlyFans. He is one of the hosts of the Imperial Senate podcast, as well as co-host of A Rewatch Between Worlds on Octo Radio, and the co-creator of the One and Done Film Club, and my hetero life mate. It is Nikki Kumar.
Hello, hello.
Last part was an
that's the
intro.
best I got.
No, that'll do. That'll do. You're getting liquored up right now.
Yeah.
We will move on because I have intros for literally everybody. She is a writer and interviewer, the news editor at Collider.com, covering film and television, amongst many other things, with a special emphasis lately on Willow, as well as a self-described Rainbow Bright incarnate. It's Maggie Bacella.
Hello, I didn't think you were going to weaponize that against me.
It's in your bio. It's fair game.
Oh, that is true. It's in my bio.
I could have gone for much cringier posts from like your high school days. I chose not to. So feel good about that. And then lastly here, this is not the entire team, but of the starting lineup, they are the co-host of Star Wars Explained, one half of the on-air team, as well as the social media manager, the co-host on the Pop Culture Podcast, A Certain Point of View, as well as Hilo and Pippin's mom. It's Molly Damon.
Hello. I am an animal mom, first and foremost. And I do
before
all that
all
other
the
nerdy shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's dogs, cats, your own well-being, and then the rest of everything. So I
Yeah.
think that's a nice priorities list. We will also have a few more friends joining us as we go for our Willow celebration tonight. I use the word party, I use the word celebration, talking about vibes and the Wildwood and all that for a reason. If you're coming here thinking that I'm about to review the entire season with my friends and score the show, we're not doing that. This is not a review. It's not about points. It's not about grades. 10 out of 10, A+. There you go. I've saved you. Click. Rotten Tomatoes, 100%. Metacritic, 100 out of 100. This is all just vibes to celebrate this show in a good faith way. Ken, I know that you're here for about half of our broadcast tonight, I'm estimating. So I'll start with you. How are you feeling about a week out from this wonderful show's conclusion? You joked that it's not your story, but you did stick it out and enjoy the story of these young heroes. You say you're Borman. I sometimes feel like I'm Borman and you're Willow, but I guess if we're all the kids, then you are Borman. How are you feeling now that it's over, and have you invested so we can get season 2?
I'm
buying Disney stock?
absolutely invested. And for those who missed my, I don't know, I don't even know if it's, I do have Disney stock, by the way. I just want to get in those calls to hear Iger speak. I don't know. I don't want to assume everyone heard my, I don't even call it a rant last week, but just what I was saying of just like, I absolutely love the show and love what it did. And also love that it is not necessarily designed for everyone who is watching and everyone who's in the pop culture space and everyone has a podcast and all the pundits, and everyone should have a podcast and everyone should be a pundit. This is where we live in. I was just blown away by what the show knew it wanted to do, what it set out to do. And I connected greatly with the moment that Borman has that big revelation of this isn't my story, because I think that drives a lot of the way I talk about content. I'm not just about keeping gates open for people. I'm about celebrating all the perspectives and all the people at the table and all the generations who come forward to this. Willow is a memory for a lot of us. Now it's back and it's alive. and it's influenced a new generation of fans, and I absolutely love it for that. Does it hit every beat perfectly? Of course not. Some of the song choices, if people have a problem with it, I, as a rock radio man from the 90s and on, I loved all the choices of the modern covers, or just Dire Straits showing up. Loved all that stuff. Loved, in the end, the humor, all that stuff, and we're not rating and reviewing, but you asked my opinion a week out. I can't wait to revisit it. I can't wait to kind of see the story go on, and I can't wait to hear all of you celebrate and talk about it and all your different journeys getting to this show.
I'm really excited to dive into it with everybody. Beautifully said. Before we continue going around, we're going to intro another member of our questing party. He is one of the last champions. You could make it sound really dramatic, of the Movie Trivia Schmodown, as well as our resident Willow expert and the co-creator and co-host of the new channel, Champs on Film. It is Adam Collins. Hello, my friend.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I made a Mad Mardigan Hatton.
Love that.
There we go.
Smart.
Yep.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. And it's just so nice to finally be around all of you. I feel like we've all been ships in the night for the past few weeks. So it's good to congregate.
That was by design. I wanted you to all long for each other, and never actually. I hid you all like Mad Mardigan. You're all Val Kilmer in this scenario. So congratulations to you. He's very talented and very handsome. We're gonna move. I don't know how everybody looks this way. Let's go to Maggie next to me. Maggie, you do this for a living, covering pop culture, editing the news, writing the news, waiting for the Russo brothers to say something dumb. That way you can then convert it into something for people to read. But you also decided, I don't know who will let you, or if it was just you pushing for it, that you were going to make Willow your entire existence for a solid few months. Actually, more than that, because even by the trailer, you were ready. Then you saw most of the show with press screeners, so you had to sit on a lot of stuff a lot longer without spoiling things. So you've had this sort of just permeating your entire life. You've told me off air that your parents are fans, or at least your mom, and so this has always been around. You like a good, very colorful, some would say saccharine, like 80s fantasy, like this, like Labyrinth and other things, Legend, stuff like that. That's very much your vibe. So how do you feel having seen it updated successfully and now it's done?
Now that it's done, I think it's even better, than I thought it was when I spoke to you the last time. It's again, I've been sitting on it for months, and I was sitting on everything but that last piece, and I do think that last piece does draw it together really, really perfectly. I think it fulfills a lot of what I looked for when I was a kid, which is sort of something that I'm still chasing. And as part of my work, I watch a lot of television, I watch a lot of film. There is very spare little that really does like latch on to me in that way, where it does become my entire existence, where I do accidentally steal the crown of Queen of Tyroslean from Sorsha and put it on for a little bit. But this show, from the first moment, really got me, and I think it speaks to how well it holds up, especially on rewatch. I rewatched the first 5 or so episodes the last couple of days to sort of re-up myself, and it holds up. It is everything that little me wants. It's everything that adult me as a storyteller was hoping that it would be. And it's wonderful to watch people kind of come together around it as well, because fandom is something that I'm really, really fascinated by and really interested in from an academic standpoint. And when you get press screeners, you're watching it basically build from the ground up, knowing what's coming and watching people reacting. So that's just been an absolute joy.
Yeah, it's been wonderful, and people will be able to go down to the links and find your coverage. You've been, actually in this, talking to the cast, talking to John Kasdan and the creators, and building out sort of the dialogue as well, which has been so joyous and everything, and being able to track their journeys as well as ours, and some of our journeys. Now going beneath you for people watching to Nikki Kumar here. Your journey with Willow is documented in real time on video and in audio, where the week before the show came out, you watched the movie for the first time. We talked about it. And now you have I won't disclose the number, but a hefty amount of Willow GIFs on your phone that are all of the most crisp HD
quality, man.
Very good quality on Tumblr. I don't have a Tumblr, but whoever's making the GIFs on Tumblr is
I no longer have a Tumblr, by the way, because I could not control myself.
That's fair. At least you know your line.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling, man? I mean, like, outside of the impending nuptials to Ruby Cruz, congratulations, by the way. How was everything in terms of the come down? Because it's a different feeling than when we finished House of the Dragon, where we finished that and we're like, it's about to get real. We finished Lord of the Rings and we're like, we know what the long march is toward the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. This was completely unknown. It ends in a way that is, I wouldn't say cliffhanger, but it's literally open-ended. We still got to figure out how to get home. And it left us with nothing but really good vibes. Like, we're first Willow Wednesday without Willow was tough.
It was, yeah. I think that's like the overriding thing of we got to Wednesday and we're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got some Star Wars. We can watch that. But you know, yeah, it was weird, and it really has been like a whirlwind. Like I floored it through into Willow fandom because, like you're saying, I watched the movie for the first time. I was very luckily, kindly enough, invited to the premiere, and it was like Willow overload. And then the show was amazing, and it was a really epic few weeks. And I guess like it's also, you know, that thing of like we don't know the status of it moving forward. Like you were saying with House of the Dragon, with Rings, we know where the story is, we know where it's gonna go, we know in some cases how many seasons those stories will take. And while we kind of have a number with Willow, we don't know if that's, you know, on the table or not for sure. So it is this like really kind of wibbly wobbly situation of like, I don't want to get hurt, so I want to like shield myself, but also it's like we're so in it. We love these characters, this cast, these writers, all the crew just put their heart and soul into it. So we want to see that rewarded and continue on.
Yeah, well, thankfully, the second that it's renewed for season 2, we'll be the first crew that knows, because Maggie will know before anyone, which is great. And so then I will receive a text probably with a bunch of fireworks or something. I'm assuming that's actually instructions. Maggie, please do that. Now, Molly, you and I talked back when the press screeners went out, and one of the first things you said to me was, "It really feels like Buffy," which was which is, first of all, how you get me. Like, that will always be a great selling point for me. But then the second thing I thought was, okay, I know that there's going to be a crew of young women that are involved in the story because of Celebration, and they were there and they were at the studio showcase panel. But I think that we went into it assuming not that Warwick would have more to do because he has a lot to do, but assuming that it would be, you know, Willow, Sorsha, very heavy, and then maybe these would be the supporting players. But they went full tilt, as Warwick will say, into like Last Jedi territory of, you know, it is the next generation story and he has to deal with his stuff. So for you coming out of it now, being so immersed constantly in stories, that's what you do as well for a living, especially with Star Wars and you know, being a Tolkien fan and living with a guy who I think knows a thing or two about some of those things. How does it play for you now that it's finished in terms of something you were missing? Because we haven't had a show like this in a long time.
Yeah, this show came along at like the perfect time for me. It was around the holidays. We had just gotten shows like Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, Andor, like really hefty shows that, you know, you finished an episode and you were like, I need to sit down. I'm already sitting down. I need to sit down again and like think about what I just watched. This show is so much fun to watch. And like, we got the screeners too, and Alex watched them. I think I watched the first 3 and then I stopped. I was like, I don't want to get too far ahead. I want to savor this if I can. And it was so nice to have a show like that to watch and not have to break it down after every episode and not have to pick it apart and just enjoy it in its purest form. And it did really remind me of Buffy just because of how unexpectedly like hilarious it was and how quippy the characters were and how well they kind of vibed with each other. It also kind of reminded me of Sailor Moon too, with just like how everything ends up being all about love and friendship. And I was like, oh, this is so sweet. So this was such a great show. I had a lot of fun seeing it, and I hope there's more.
Now you've got me in the back of my mind. Like, is Sailor Moon fantasy enough to cover on this channel? We'll talk about it later. Real quick before we jump over to Adam, I want to show this comment from our friend Brennan Marr. I've had my fellow people with bad takes on fandom. Thank you guys for being the remedy I desperately needed. Willow rules. Thank you, Brennan. You're one of my favorite people in the Twitter space, in the podcast space, the trivia space. I think I'm actually supposed to be facing you in trivia at some point soon. Remember that you really liked this coverage when we go up against each other, and please take it easy.
Alden's not that good at it.
This is true. Nikki did just beat me a few days ago, so that's a fair jab. Now, lastly, at least for the people that are presently here, we're waiting on Chase. That gay Jedi will be joining us, but Adam, you waited the longest for this show because you were waiting for it before you realized that it was even existing. You've been waiting for it arguably since, I don't know, when did you see this? 90, 91?
Yeah, the first time I saw Willow would have been around 1990.
1990s. That's a ways away. That was a good year. You had the Ninja Turtles and everything, but this movie latched onto you and you latched onto it, and you have this relationship with this particular mythology. There were tie-in materials and things that happened sporadically, and you've told me that there would be occasionally talks over the years of possibly revisiting something. And then when it finally was announced and there was a trailer, did you have that experience of it doesn't feel real yet? And now that it's over, does it feel real now?
Yeah, it's floored me, to be honest, in all the best ways, because I've lived with Willow my entire life and I've had no expectations. So when we got to the Lucasfilm buyout and the possibility of a continuation of Willow became, realistic, I didn't get ahead of myself, but like I bided my time. And then after Solo came out and John Kasdan was just so outspoken about his passion for Willow, I started to get hopeful. And then it all started to feel real to me at Star Wars Celebration when, we got to see a lot of the folks from Willow come out and promote the show. And I'm like, all right, we're really getting this. And I think what's really cool about this movie is it's like this Teflon fandom in the best possible way, which is like really refreshing because we have this movie that is celebrated by people who grew up with it, like myself. But there's not this toxic gatekeeping with this movie that we deal with a lot of things we love, unfortunately.
I've never dealt with that, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah. And granted, there have been some naysayers about the show because people get grumpy, and I get it. But at the same time, this isn't about the show being universally accepted. It's about the show operating on its own terms and finding an audience. And in so doing, we've found a community, like not just within our group here, which is great, but like I love the sense of pride people take in enjoying the show and talking about it without being exclusive or exclusionary about it. And I feel like that is integral to the spirit of the show and the ensemble of these characters, and then the off-screen relationships that I've enjoyed seeing unfold with a lot of these actors. It's just a really endearing show, a really endearing crew, and Disney has money to burn. Just make Willow 2 for the hell of it. What do you have to lose? There's nothing to lose. Come on.
Yeah, it really is just like nonstop wins across the board, every aspect. However nitty gritty you want to be about it, down to, not these aspects are small, but they're probably the under discussed stuff like costume design and lighting and production design, which are all stellar. But then, like you said, at the top is the people that have now captivated us. Lucasfilm, from Star Wars Rebels to now, marking the new era of their storytelling, they've nary a miss in terms of casting. They just find the most phenomenal people, and this show was straight W's across the board. And it marks the beginning of an interesting new era where for the longest time it was we make Star Wars and occasionally we make Indiana Jones. And now we've got all three running at the same time with going out of Willow season, moving into more Star Wars, and then Indy right behind. That's never been a thing before. It's really surreal. Somewhere out there is a THX or American Graffiti fan just shaking their fists in the air, wondering when they're going to get their follow-up. American Graffiti 2, 3. No, it would be 3. Coming to Disney Plus. You heard it here first.
What about Strange Magic? Am I right?
Strange magic. Yeah.
Strange
there you
magic
go.
too. Where you at?
Strange Magic 2 odds are probably actually really good for that, to be honest. That sounds like a good Disney Plus thing. But moving over into a little group topic, I prepared some icebreakers.
Oh.
Not that we need to break the ice because, I like to think you're all okay. But I want to start with Ken. We'll go back around in the same order. First question. We'll get Chase's answers when they get here. What role do you think you'd fill in a quest party in the world of Willow? Ken Knapsack.
I wouldn't be brave enough to be Borman or have the athletic ability, though I did play sports, which is why I'm a Star Wars podcaster now. So I think it might be, a nice version of Julian Glover's character.
Okay.
Bearded wizard in the woods, but he actually helps you, and he's got some nice pets. I like that kind of stuff there, and I identified greatly with what was going on with Warwick, and Willow, and the idea of facing failures and fears, and this idea that you get to some plateau in your life or your career, and that's not the end of the journey there. I obviously would say a lot I connected with the Borman stuff simply because I think that was my feeling for this show. I was 12. I saw it in the theater. Loved it. It hit me in a different way. Big Star Wars fan. But then other things in life started to pull me away from that kind of property. So I've always loved it. But to just watch 2 episodes in, I looked around and was like, oh, this, like when I keep saying it isn't for me, I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I was like, oh, this is doing some stuff that I want to be protective of because this is for other folks. And when Borman ends up, I'm part of that. There's lessons for all of us, but so many of the pundits out there lead with fear, lead with cynicism, lead with snark, which just masks their fear of change and their fear of acceptance of stories for other people. And so Borman represented that in the end for me. I would need to be not as pretty as that man, and I need to be a little more grizzled. So that's
he is a very, very pretty human being.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
he's got to get into Star Wars.
Handsome as hell.
We got to see him as a Star Wars scoundrel Jedi.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be fantastic. Fantastic. Now, you made a point there about sort of the choices of accepting change and everything. And this feels like, I've said it feels like a show that would have aired after Buffy or Angel or like after Smallville. But it's also, if he has that 2000s energy, but we know the 2000s weren't ready for this show. So it's almost like it's from an alternate 2000s where we were more accepting and better and further along in the timeline. And we're doing things that were more interesting. And I think that colors even simple questions like what role would you fill? Because I think if you would ask someone 20 years ago, a D&D player, let's say like, oh, what they might not say like lesbian princess with an Iron Man suit and a bunch of like those things feel very of the now, but also needed. They feel classic, but not old and new mixing in a very interesting way. Now going to you, Maggie, if we're on a quest party, ignoring the fact that we all get one cry, you don't have to admit that you would be a crier. That's implied. What role would you have in our Willow party?
I think the thing that I would connect with most, or the thing that I think I would end up doing, is the moment in episode 3 when everyone's fighting Valentine and they send Graydon over to grab Allura, and she kind of goes, was no one else available? Because that would be me, because when it comes to outdoors, any kind of upper body strength, anything like that, I'm utterly useless. But jokes aside, I do see a lot of myself in Graydon, specifically this sort of the academic aspects. He's very well read for, a number of reasons to do with his backstory, but he's very well read. He's very much book smart, not so much street smart, which I think is part of the reason why you see Borman take him under his wing a little bit. Like, it's kind of not polar opposites there in a sense, but yeah, very much, if I had to use D&D terms, very much the bard. I'm definitely, more of the book smarts than the street smarts for sure.
Love that. And Nikki, I feel like there's a type that you are generally attracted to that I can generally pin you for, but this group doesn't have that. There isn't a Legolas type or like a Crosshair type. You love a sharpshooter. You love someone that's really sleek and just in there, like your Poe Damerons. And this group is so awkward.
Sniper? Nikki, you think you're a sniper?
you gotta see me in Halo 2, Ken.
You can fight Ken in Fortnite.
I'm a DMR user in Fortnite, so we'll do.
There you go.
I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna take Ken. All
the 10-year-olds listening, no.
I'll ask my nephew.
Please. Yeah, can we get a child pundit in here, please,
Molly,
for Fortnite?
Molly, you and Alex are going to be in a squad with me and Plume before the end of the year. Don't you worry about it.
I'm surprised that Alex and Molly don't already play because there's Star Wars skins in there. You could justify that for the channel.
Well, Alex is playing PUBG right now, which he called the grown-up Fortnite. And he told me to say hi to you.
What a gatekeeper that Alex.
Text him right now. Text him right now. Tell him he's a toxic fan. But yeah, so Nikki, this group though, decidedly more awkward than maybe some of the characters that you generally gravitate toward, just because I know you, and because I've said, and you know, there's nuance to this. I'm not trying to. This is not an insult. This is Lucasfilm's first like YA thing, and some people use YA as an insult. They don't really understand what it is when they do that. It's not. It's just about the focus. Like it really is just about young people. That's what young adult fiction is. It doesn't mean that it's for a lesser comprehension level, but there aren't cool, capable people in here. So I'm interested to see where you'll go with this.
Yeah, I think I like to consider myself a ride or die friend, where I will get in scraps just to back someone up. And I think with that in mind, I'd definitely be like a Jade type, where it's like, I'm not really like, I don't got the beef here, but I'll go to back you up. Yeah. I will be your sword. So that's kind of my vibe. I think it'd be like, oh, there's a fight going on. Let's go. Yeah.
Oh, it's like our Twitter interactions. It's the best. Whenever I text Nikki and I'm like, someone said something dumb, I'm gonna fight him. Which is fitting because I'm this is not to be cute or again not a rehearsed bit, but I was gonna say Jade. And I joked, you know, you and I, we come as a package deal a lot of the time. Yeah. And we talk almost every day. Or as I say Jade, I was going to say Kit. That's what I meant. You're Jade and I'm Kit because my entire existence is dad issues and angst and trying to run from things. But then realizing when push comes to shove that I guess I can do the thing if I have to do the thing. Now, Molly, what about you? Where do you fit into this? Because I feel like you're a person that has a lot of like nuance and a lot of layers that maybe people don't expect. Like you can turn on like Star Wars Explained Molly, but then there is like really done with this Molly that could probably take out all the Gales if she needed to. So where are you going?
It's funny. Like I feel like I always connect with the magic users, but in this case, Alora is like the magic. She's like the center of this whole story. And I don't want to be the center of attention, but I want to be the magic user that's like, I guess in D&D terms, off to the side, like trying to stay out of the trouble, but also like really powerful with magic. That's always been like my thing in any show or game or book. If there's a magic user, that's the person that I connect with.
Got it. Love that. So maybe somewhere in between a Graydon and an Alora, like maybe not with the, like you have maybe not as much of a confidence problem as Graydon has, maybe not the same kind of damage, but you wouldn't call yourself like a prophesized baby in that way. Like you're not the name. Prophesized baby.
Prophesized baby.
Oh, that does sound good. That's going in my notes. That's going in the notes for sure.
I do share one other thing with Alora where like I get easily frustrated, especially if it's like something that I'm supposed to be good at and I'm not being good at it. I connected with her there for sure. Gotcha.
And how would you say your baking skills are?
Oh, subpar.
Phenomenal.
I can cook. I just can't bake.
Okay, that's fair. Cooking counts. Possum stomachs, all that. Adam Collins, what about you, my friend? Are you going to be the one that says that you are the Nelwyn sorcerer Willow, or are you more of like
I have a two-part answer, if that's okay. And my honest answer, my gut answer, is I'm Rule, because I really respected his take in the series, where he shows up, we have the nice reunion moment, and he's like, please come on the quest. And Rule's like, I've been there. I'm good. And then, he leads us to believe Frangine's gone. And, but he's actually just on vacation in like the, Brownie Bahamas or something. But I really just, I love that little Rule cameo. And I respect his decision. But let me say this about Willow himself, the reason I connected this movie all the way back when I did, and why it stuck with me since I've grown, is because as I continue to grow up, I remain connected to this character of Willow. And I love all the new characters in this show. I adore them. And I can find things I identify with every single one of them. But what I really love about Willow himself is, and not to fall into your trap too much, but is the fact that he is, disclaimer, I'm a dad. I got a 6-year-old daughter. And so everything with Willow this season really connected with me. I didn't get enough Mims, to be honest. I would have loved more Annabelle Davis, but I appreciated what we got. And I love that he was always trying to get back to his daughter. But I also appreciated his crankiness and his frustration with the youths, because, you know, he's trying to like keep this quest moving. And he's powerful in a lot of ways, but he only can do so much. And he can't like force them to get along. He has to kind of play the long game. So I did identify with Willow a lot in this show because I'm at a point in my life where, you know, I have to take care of a little human being. And, you know, like I instantly connect with a lot of dads in movies and shows, but especially Willow, because I've lived with him my whole life. The guy started off as just a simple farmer. He didn't want any of this. It's not even, and I told you this when we were chatting one time, Alden. Yeah. It's not like Bilbo and Frodo, the, you know, reluctant bachelors who march out on a quest. He had a family, he had kids, and Burglecut was hassling him, like, you know, for, you know, like a harvest and everything. And he still did the thing. And we catch up with him at this point in his life, and he's not perfect. He's really, really cantankerous. But I get why he's cantankerous. And, you know, if I can't be Willow, though, I'm Silas. There you go.
R.I.P. Silas, a true ride or die. I love that. I love your analysis of Willow and the things you point out that do make him different. Him being a family man when it starts, a young family guy, you know, he's like trying to make a career change. He doesn't want to be doing the farming. He's trying to be a sorcerer, and and now we find him here at midlife, and what we find out later, it's not like, you know, we know he lost Kaya, but it's not like he lost his son. His son just was disappointed in him and left. And then we're just left with that. You just have to deal with that. Like the relationship just fell apart, which makes the relationships that he forms here with the youths, as you said, even stronger. Everybody watching, feel free to leave questions, comments, everything. I'm going to start pulling up some more of them as we go. Laserbolt Videos here has a good comment where he says, I got to admit that I wasn't sold on Willow's show at first. Maybe it was the overall tone or music, but I'm glad I stuck with it and had a lot of fun by the end, which honestly is something that needs to be said a lot more. You're allowed to have a changing opinion, and you're allowed to have an opinion that you're like, I'm not sure about something at first, or it grew on me, or you can go the other way. Like in the culture of everything is the greatest thing ever, or it sucks. I welcome that a lot. And I think that it speaks to the show's confidence that it was willing to just be itself the entire time. It arguably gets even more and more itself. Like once it has you, and that does, you know, by the end of 3 and the Metallica needle drop happens, it's the show sort of saying, yeah, we know what we are. If you're not on board with it, you should probably jump. Like it didn't feel like it was trying to play to every audience. It felt like it was trying to play to its audience, which things have the right to do. Andor did that in the other way. It played up, and this played for a very particular group. Then you're looking at 6 of them right here. If anybody has,
I just want to say all this. Laserbolt, who's a long-time listener around these parts, and if you bring up his profile picture, we look like we're both riding on hogs into some kind of small town bar. But I really think that's it's underrated what he said, and you were right to highlight it. In this day and age of gamified discussions around this, of shows that make you rank in a serious way, we're a competitive culture. I love competition. I love what it teaches you, but we've turned everything into that. And now, therefore, and having, you know, my days back at Collider Video, where we'd watch a show and rush into the studio to give your thoughts. You haven't processed the art. You haven't processed what it's saying, and you haven't found a way to connect with it. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe 3 episodes in, you're like, this isn't for me. I really love Laserbolt saying that. I really appreciate having a fan base that can let the show grow to what it needs to be, and find a purpose there. And I think that's a lost art in fandoms these days.
It really is. It really is a lost art. I mean, I can't tell you about the amount of things that I've just had to think about. The things that I have, my relationship with them has changed significantly over time, where I don't stand by my day one or week one reviews or thoughts, or they get better or they get worse. But circling back to what you were saying, Adam, before we're fully away from it, the stuff about Willow and sort of the pain, like it is a really fun, colorful, comedic, sexy, energetic show, but it also isn't afraid to be really, really raw when it needs to, with Warwick's performance and everything, with Willow's arc, with Kit and with Eric and everything that they have to go through. So everybody that wants to jump in, we don't have to go around the horn every single time, but if you've got, like, what was the moment that you found to be most affecting, and why was it Kit saying he chose you over me?
I hate that I was already thinking that before you said that.
No, please talk about it though.
Yeah, no, it was to what you and Ken were saying. You know, when I watched the first 3 episodes of this, it did take a little bit to grow on me. I knew that I was going to enjoy the concept because I knew that I liked 80s fantasy. I knew I liked the original. I knew I liked the concept of what it was doing just based on the trailers. But watching it, Kit specifically, I think, is one of those characters that when other people were watching it, I said, no, keep going, keep going. I know she kind of grates on your nerves, because she did. She grated on my nerves, because I think she very easily could have, and in a lot of situations with characters like that, do just turn into the flat, sarcastic one, which I think could have happened with Borman as well. You know, don't build them out beyond that sarcasm that, you know, we need the angry one. But her journey watching it, the more I got into it, and even the more that I rewatch it, I see so much of myself in that for a variety of reasons. And I think it's one of those things where Skellen, particularly as an episode, it balances so well this kind of bizarre comedy with Allagash, who, to quote Slater when I was talking to him, is nuts. So you get this really oddball, off the wall humor, and then for him to immediately sort of segue that into, you know, your father was trying to protect Alora Dannon. And I think that there's something for, and I don't know if anybody else can speak to this, but when you're a teenager and you're growing up and everything is sort of feels like the world is against you, you know, there is a moment where the bottle pops off, where you can only shake the thing so long before it explodes. And I think it's the way that Ruby does that. And also Ellie, you know, her reactions, the sort of crying, you know, trying not to cry when they're, you know, on the verge of death. Because this could have easily happened in a very, very quiet moment, but it doesn't. It happens, you know, right before Kit ends up having a near-death experience. And I think just a combination of the writing and Ruby, it hits in a way that I think nothing up to that point had. And it was the breaking point where you realize, oh no, like things are getting serious. We have to sort of double down now.
Yeah, that's a great point, that the fact that it happened at a moment of explosive, high stakes fantasy action, this mind collapsing, all the trolls are onto us, there's this undefined sort of goo and it's sort of icy lake state that we can try to run across, and we can see the opening, and you got your father's sword. It's like, it feels like it's battle time, but no, it's emotional breakdown time, or emotional breakthrough time, depending on what you really think. And it sort of couples with their moment on the Shattered Sea later on, and that gorgeous use of the stagecraft with the sky and the lights and everything. And it's really, really stunning. And the emotion, that you said about Allagash conveying that, and you sort of being like, well, I don't even know if you're trustworthy. I don't know if who's telling the truth between you and Borman. The show doesn't really hold your hand there. But it knows how to be emotionally truthful. And I think that episode is a great one to point out for like the mixture of the tones. If anybody wants to jump in and talk about sort of like that tonal balance, which some people might call a tonal clash because it is kind of weird. Like there are things like Allagash having an eye patch when he doesn't need one. Then the show never addresses that. He just takes it off. He just wanted to have it on. Little things like that. The show doesn't. It's not in the business of explaining magic. It's not in the business of explaining how things work, which is very George Lucas in that way. Why can we do that? Because we can. Why can the flute be a wand? Because it can. If you don't like that, sorry. Who wants to jump in about that?
I loved Kit in that episode specifically. Like that was a moment that I felt like really hit with me emotionally, because just that moment where she's like standing outside the cave, whatever that thing was, and she was like hearing her father's voice, and she wanted so badly to go in there and to go after him. And as someone who felt like they had to fight for my dad's attention growing up and like craving that, I totally understood her in that moment, that where she was like, do I just leave all of my friends here, everything that we worked up to at this point, to go into this cave, or do I not? Like, that was such a pivotal moment for her character that I thought was really great.
Yeah, the show's really good about testing people. I'll start with you, Adam, on this point about the tests.
Yeah.
We had, you and I talked about Nakmar and how that was the perfect one for you to have come on for. We didn't know that it was going to work out that way, but that was sort of that was the height of this being Willow 2 in a lot of ways, where you had archival audio and a mixture of, you know, newer performers like Sam Witwer being Kale, but then they got, you know, all of as much that they could muster from the first film with new recordings, with old recordings, with using the visuals and giving them that smoky effect. And everybody in there has their first test moment, unless you're Jade, who we'll talk about, who was the most tested, I would argue, the earliest. How did you feel about the way that this challenged its young people? As a longtime fan, as a dad, as somebody that loves movies and loves television, how did that all play for you? Because it to me, it was the biggest compliment I can give this is that it all felt earned and it never felt CW. Not a shot. I mean, it is, but
that episode was a great turning point in the series, because I feel like what that did is those of us who've grown up with the movie and we're excited to return to some of those locations. It was so exciting to get back to Nakmar by episode 4, because that meant everything beyond that had limitless potential. Because even though I wouldn't have hated a climax set at Nakmar in episode 8, they could have made that work. I like that we didn't build up to returning to the Death Star in this. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I'm just saying, like, it was cool to get there and have that, like, those satisfying emotional arcs with all these characters where they're all being tested by these supernatural forces, wherever they might be stemming from, and the way it's visualized with a lot of the archival footage in creative ways. It just meant that everything that happened after that had a lot of possibility, and we had the satisfaction of going back to the familiar location and experiencing the exorcism of Tony Revolori and all that fun stuff.
That's my favorite horror film. Exorcism of Tony Revolori.
The fact that the fact that Borman's like, I feel really good about this exorcism. I was like, I am okay. Yes, let's go. I just love Whispers of Nakmar so much, and that was a big turning point for me, because I got that satisfaction, but I also knew I was along for the ride still, and there was a lot of story yet to be told. So yeah,
that was a great episode for lines. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, before Chase gets here, because Chase is watching Buffy right now, and I don't want to spoil anything for him. There is a perfect episode of Buffy that goes along with that episode, where there's like this haunted house, and it puts all these characters through these different tests, and it kind of brings out what they're most insecure about. And the whole time I was watching this episode, I was like, oh my God, it's the same thing. So it's
essential.
So
I mean, it really is. Like, everybody has to hit that point of the test, and it was already brought up. Garth McMurray in the comments, going into a cave, seeing your dad in there sounds familiar for Star Wars fans. That moment of the Dark Side Cave is, I mean, that's Kazan's daddy's son, right? Like, it's built in when you grow up around myth that much. And about that understanding, he's got Empire in here. He's got Raiders in this show. A lot of classic beats that come out. What did you say? Young Guns 2 is the horse chase, Ken? In the pilot?
It's a beat for beat, pretty much beat for beat lift homage. I mean, in a good way, to Chavez y Chavez, Lou Diamond Phillips' character in Young Guns has the same horses going over. What was that? What was that word you used? It's a Navajo word for stop. And like it was you can't tell me that John Kasdan's like, finally I get to write my Young Guns 2 joke.
He's like, I've been waiting to put Young Guns in a fantasy. Yeah, it feels like we're using the language and giving it back and reinventing things and lifting them and twisting. And Nikki, that's something you talk about with writing, is sort of the lift and twist. Like, what can you give me, but then give it to me in a different way? And I think that dialogue stuff like that in Nockmar, like was what that kid says to Borman, like, are you plundering my grandma's castle? And he goes, yes. And she's like, okay, like, doesn't even care. Like, things that would be in a lot of things like a clash of like, no, I feel complicated about this place. Like, you have to show it some respect while I figure out that's not who she is. They all, no matter where they are, they feel immensely true to themselves. So does anybody have a favorite little line or character beat that they want to throw out?
In the time that I'm left here, I'll jump here for a second. One of my episodes 1 and 2, I was with there, but I was struggling. I come from the comedy world, so I was like judging the comedy, and then I also get really touchy in Star Wars if modern comedy influences it or find its way in. And so I was doing that, like I was in my head. And then by the end of that episode, a High Alden episode, which I'm fascinated. And I just saw a comment here. Eric Monroe put up a great comment here of this idea of, Sorsha kind of telling Will, you'll never be great. And you can get into maybe what Sorsha meant there. But that's part of a big theme in Star Wars, right? There's that idea of like, hey, who you are is what you are. And that matters. Everyone matters. I'm in the middle of writing an essay that we're going to put up on Force Center about why Jar Jar Binks is the absolute embodiment of that theme, that everyone matters. And everyone matters to the fight. And at the end of that episode, everyone's kind of struggling, and Laura Dannon is not sure. And we at episode 2, you're like, well, of course, your hair's going to turn red, and you're going to be great. Don't worry, kid. Don't worry, kid. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know that. One of the big things about Star Wars to me is about the hope of tomorrow being present today. You're already on your journey. You have already begun. You're already heading to where you go. She's already begun. So when she's kidnapped and yanked, and that's kind of like, oh, okay. And the sapling appears. I kind of do one of those fist pumping moments. I was like, this show's about to have so much fun. This show is about things that it has, Adam, you said earlier, earned. By the time, like, Beyond the Shattered Sea, these big epic things, it for me kind of began at that moment. That's where maybe I put aside any kind of silly little quibbles in my head about, it doesn't matter. The show has earned everything. And I love that little character moment because she doesn't even know it. She doesn't even know that she's already great. Yeah. And that's a big thing in all these kind of stories.
That's beautiful. And beautifully followed up with Kit just seeing the full bush as if I was fully grown, and just having that like almost like she becomes aware that she's in a story in that moment. Like, oh, I have to be a hero. I have to help her. I have to help Miss Muffins. Anyone else want to jump in with something off the top of their head? Well, we'll get to everybody, but whoever is ready.
I will say very specifically about Kit and Laura and Eric and Jade and all of them. As somebody who is the same age as these cast members, I do commend the writing team on the show for writing people in their 20s or whatever the age is based on the sort of Moon's math that feel like people my age, that talk like people my age. And I know some people have a quibble with that, with fantasy characters should talk like fantasy characters. But I love, the Kate looking at the Echoberry bush and going, nuts, really? Like, and that, or the Veil of Boobs thing, like, that's how my friends and I talk. And I think it's something that is very, very difficult to get right, and something that a lot of writing teams miss the mark on. And a lot of that is a credit to the cast and really being able to make this script come alive. But I do appreciate that. But I will say, I think my favorites are pretty much just anything that comes out of Borman's mouth. Specifically, I keep making the joke that the next time I come back from like PTO on work, I'm going to make my Slack message just somebody quickly recap everything I missed, because that's exactly how it feels.
Yeah, that's a great one. There's a Borman one in Wildwood where Ken and I talked after, and Ken said there was a line. He's like, there was a line that got me, man. And I was like, oh, was it this place will make you officiate weddings and dog sit for people you don't know.
God,
yes, that's the one. Because Ken, you are somebody who is a dog dad and you've officiated weddings.
You reach that age where you're like, please don't ask me. I don't want to do your wedding. I don't want to do your wedding. Oh, damn it. Yeah, I get it.
I can imagine like being out in LA and being in the performing arts and doing that stuff. People probably expect that you'll be ready at all times. And
luckily, Mark Ellis takes all my wedding gigs now, and it's great.
There you go. Yeah, that was a great one.
Great.
Everything with Borman and Scorpia is some of the, how do I say this without just saying it? It's just hot. Like it really is just like the chemistry there between the two of them. After Daredevil and She-Hulk and that show, probably the steamiest stuff I've seen on television in a while, with nothing explicit. It's just when you have two people that are that dynamite saying those things, it just plays. Get out of here, you heathen. How do you know I don't have any? Go watch Willow. Anyway, oh, by the way, Jared, I just want to point out, Jared the Dark Jedi from the Nerd Academy podcast has a hilarious bit. It's a bit beef with the show. He does not actually beef with Willow, but because during Star Wars Celebration, this was the only trailer from the showcase that got out. So everybody was waiting for either Star Wars or Indie or whatever, and he was doing like a live stream or whatever, and we only got the Willow trailer. And here we are, and during Willow, I wasn't even thinking about Star Wars or Indie. Like this is like the fact that Willow Offgood made it back to screens before Indie could is kind of hilarious in a roundabout way. Anyone else with dialogue, quotes, quips, anything like that?
Was it Borman that said your generation has like zero attention span for epic tales?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wrote that quote down because I was like, that is so meta. I had to take a beat to wrap my head around it because it's kind of like making fun of the people who are enjoying this show, but it's also just poking fun at a lot of different generations. So I loved that line. And
making fun of the people that aren't enjoying it or that didn't give it its due or didn't give it a chance. And I mean, Kasdan's been open, in a joking way, but he's like, whether you're watching it because you love it or watching it to hate watch it, I don't care. Just watch it. Like it only helps him in the end. And the whole show has that very self-aware energy to it. I already made a joke about Borman's crying line. Everyone gets one cry per quest. He is the fantasy character that has been on the adventure before, both on a metatext level and on an in-world level. There's a lot of spiritual siblings, which is something we talked about, Maggie, in our discussion about Alora and Kit having to be these spiritual sisters. And he's sort of Madmartigan's other kid, the older brother, the one that he got to actually know the guy in a way that these people didn't. And he does a great job of not filling Val Kilmer's shoes because he's such a different role. But if we can't have Val, then we need somebody that can have a similar sort of swagger in a unique way, it really worked well. We have a super chat here from PLD. Hey, bud. Love PLD. I love how the episodes ended with anachronistic songs, but can I be on brand and ask for a Queen song next season? Yes, you can. Yes.
Where was Another One Bites the Dust? That writes itself for the show. I think
Another One Bites the Dust would be great. Good.
Queen did an entire sort of concept album based on the Fairyfeller's Masterstroke, which is a painting that's hanging at the Tate Britain, but it's, fairies and giants and all this stuff. So I would love to see some like Seven Seas of Ryan. There's some like real like 70s hard rock.
Yes, that'd be so good. I was thinking like right when they do the wide shot before we get the post-credit scene and we get the wide shot of them sort of leaving as a group. And you can hear Willow start to talk about Madmartigan and the snowball. That's when like the show must go on should have started or something like that. Or because that's my favorite, so I'm biased. But yeah, Queen is perfect for this. And just in general, the needle drops were great. We had Killer Queen. Killer Queen would have been great for the ending with Dark Alora.
Oh yeah.
Who Dark Alora lives in my mind rent free. It was a really easy sell. If you like, just make it goth and this is great. Just to keep it appropriate. It was awesome. And songs from Highlander. Who Wants to Live Forever would be really interesting for the Crone. In her red dress.
What was the Highlander? Was it like Princes of the Universe or something? Was that the Highlander one?
Yeah.
That feels like of that time.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff would be great, and it's perfect time to ask this. And Chase will be joining us in a few minutes, so I'll ask them as well. I had this as the needle drop question: what song would play? And Ken, you'll go first because I know you got a tip. What song would play right after we found out that you were the chosen one?
What song? Oh my gosh.
You're the chosen one. We hit the credits. First big needle drop of your show. What song plays?
Oh man, come on. I got 25 years of rock DJ work coursing through my veins. It would probably go somewhere to Bowie. Never Get Old's my favorite David Bowie song, but Changes might work too. But you need that needle drop's a different thing. That's a different category. Alden, what have you done to me?
I'm sorry. You're gonna be thinking about it. I'm gonna get a text in like 2 hours.
Like Dire Straits at the end was a out of left field choice, but that intro is just one of the all-time classic intros. So I think that was perfect. So it's not just about the song or the lyrics; it's about that first 5 seconds. So, damn it, I'm gonna get back to that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it has to there are songs that are great, and then there are songs that are great directorially, like the intro of Enter Sandman. As Warwick is talking, it's almost like you can't even believe what you're hearing. You're like, no, they're not playing this. Anybody else have something? Molly, I was going to say Lady Gaga.
I was going to say Bad Romance.
She is. Okay.
Because I'm trying to think of songs that like start out immediately just like gripping your attention, and that one that would be it for sure.
Cut to me crying at Dodger Stadium when she opened with that. And
yes.
I think given the precedent they've set with this music, I think they've earned the right to drop some ELO, some Electric Light Orchestra in season 2. And I am ready for a full-on fight scene to the entire cut of Fire on High. Because that would be epic. I've always wanted to see that in a show or movie, and I think Willow is the show to do it. A Fire on High fight scene after you find out you're the chosen one would be so awesome. I would write that for myself, and I hope they write that for themselves in the next season.
Let's just go to ELO's Xanadu. Let's just go straight to
I want ELO. I want Moody Blues in season 2. So let's go.
Oh, Moody Blues would be
really cool.
Justin Hayward. All right. Hey, I'm going to take this moment to duck out. I want to thank you all publicly again. I can't say how much I appreciate you all coming by. And Alden, you've been running a wonderful ship here. We'll keep going. We have the Willow doc. We have more to go. More Lord of the Rings, House of Dragon, Game of Thrones rewatch. We'll pick up soon if I can clear some schedules. We've got the Red Viper up next. The Mountain and the Vipers, the next episode. I love y'all. And to all of you on this panel who I either know through the years or just getting to know, I really appreciate coming, sharing your love, your insights on this show. It meant a lot to us each week and to really celebrate what's going on here. So thank you all. I'm going to duck on out. Keep going all night. Just tell me when you need that podcast up.
Goodbye, sir.
Cheers, Ken.
Bye, Ken.
Love that guy. Okay, so I need Maggie and Nikki to answer the song question now. I wonder what Maggie might choose. Is there anything on her wall that could indicate where? Real quick, dramatic pause, because as if we rehearsed it.
There we go.
They are one of the hosts of the Pink Milk Star Wars podcast. They are also one of the co-creators and co-hosts of Fear Queers, as well as the creative mind behind the That Gay Jedi YouTube channel. It's Chase Hauser.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me come in late, because I would never miss an opportunity to gush over Willow with all of you. So
no, see, I told all these people they could show up whenever they wanted. And they're all nerds, and they all showed up right on time. They didn't have anything to do like you did.
No, Chase, I was late too.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
I was here right at 9.
Yes. Nikki sat there since the last episode and was like, I want to talk about Willow again. We just changed shirts.
I'm not giving up my spot.
This was the one that was in our reach. Yeah.
So Maggie, back to you, my friend.
When Ken said Changes by Bowie, that was the first thing that popped into my head. And then I was like, well, damn it, I need to pick a different one, because I could go through 15 years of Bowie and trying to find something perfect. But I think the one, and it doesn't necessarily have much to do lyrically with the idea of the chosen one, but it's Blue Jean off of Tonight, which came out in 1984. It kind of starts with this really heavy like drum beat, like da-na-na, and that's sort of the cut to the credit scene, sort of because I'm nothing if not a big big band person. So I think Blue Jean is definitely on brand for me.
That's wonderful. So Nikki, why don't you go, and then I'll pose the question again to Chase, and then I'll answer, and we'll keep going.
I think I will default to what I already consider the greatest cinematic needle drop, and I will go with Wake Up by Rage Against the Machine. And that, I think, feels right for me being the one to save everybody.
You know how like the credits here always go to the ink, the pencil and ink artwork, the page transition. Right when they hit the "come on," like it would just turn into the oh, it'd be so good. So Chase, the question here was much like with Alora Dannon, we find out that who we thought was Brunhilde, aka Dove, is actually Alora, and then boom, the credits hit, and that's our chosen one, and we are off. If we found out that Chase Hauser, who's you, was the chosen one, what song would play when we hit the credits?
My mind directly goes to one needle drop that's already been used, which is like Moving in Stereo by the Cars. Like I just think a nice slow like thing like that. But because it's been used before, I think Magic Man by Heart would be pretty baller. Like
that's
that would
awesome.
be, I think that would be mine. So yeah, Magic Man.
That is really cool. I love that. For me, I would be nothing. I would be remiss, honestly, if I was not painfully consistent. This was already actually used for an introduction in Clerks 3 this past year. Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. Right as the scene's happening, piano intro comes in, and then by the time we're halfway through the credits, Gerard Way is just blaring and screaming and talking about his dad issues and everything. I mean, that's just painfully on brand for me. So again, everybody watching, listening, all that jazz, this will be available on the podcast feed after, so pardon all of the calls for interactivity that you won't get, but that's the benefit of joining us for the hangouts on the YouTube channel. Leave comments. We have Christian Slater. Christian Slater is here.
Happy he could be here tonight.
Now, is it the real Christian Slater? Because there is a chance since Maggie Patella is here, who just talked to the man the other day. Christian Slater, if you actually are here and you picked Frank Sinatra, I like you more than I already did, and I already liked you a lot.
And if that's your profile picture, good.
Chase, would that be a sleigh?
That would be a sleigh. Yeah, that would be a Christian Slater.
I refuse to believe any other outcome than that actually being Christian Slater.
I'm just gonna say it is definitively Christian Slater. If that's actually you and you want to join the call, DM me.
Blink twice.
Go down to the description and hit one of the accounts that says Alden Diaz or Casterly Talk, and I will bring you in. That goes for anybody who worked on the show, who was on screen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see if we have anything else.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if that's an alt account for Jared.
If it's just if he just bombs in, I'll be so upset.
And he sneaks in.
I'll ban him for my entire life if he does something like that. Now I have more. The next group question that I had is titled "For the Lovers." Everybody here that's in a relationship or has been in one, you can abstain if you want to, but everyone either has been, wants to be, could be, will be, for the most part. Do you think you're more of a Jade or a Kit in the relationship? Somebody here's married, so maybe she'll start.
Kit.
Okay. I see. I think Alex is definitely a Jade. Alex Damon, Star Wars Explained. I think he has a stalwart sort of energy about him.
Yeah, he's more self-contained. He's got self-restraint. I have none of that.
I have none of that. It's good to be self-aware, which I think Kit is.
One of us has to have it, and it's him.
Love that. Now, Chase, I have not had the pleasure of meeting your partner. I'll refrain from saying their name because I don't know how they feel about that on air. But what would you say in terms of this dynamic? It's not going to be perfect for everybody, but
yeah, no, it's not a clean break. There's definitely a lot of overlap, but I'd say he is a Kit for sure. And I'd be more of the Jade, more of the sort of like, I don't know. I might like be keeping the walls up a little bit for his chaos, that kind of energy.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. Love that. Now, Adam, you run this channel Champs on Film with somebody that I would say you like a little, at least. Someone who's pretty neat, I guess. What would you say? Pretend she's not possibly watching or in the room.
She may or may not still be at work. She's working hard, but I'll say it this way. I think there's a certain wisdom to, and this isn't specific to my current relationship, but just my life experience. I think all of us could benefit from allowing our partners to follow through on their logic sometimes, because I think there's a tendency to over advise your partner because you care about them. And sometimes it's good to let your partner follow through with their idea. That's why I identify with Jade, because, you know, it's not that it's fully equitable to letting your sparring partner win, but at the same time, and again, my current partner in crime, Marisol McKee, she's doing nothing but teaching me lessons every day. But I think we all could learn a lot from stepping back and allowing the people we love to follow through with what they plan on doing, because if you just try and step in front of it and tell them what to do, you're not helping anybody.
Yeah. Wow. That was wise. Welcome to Romance Talk.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, that was really good. It's a profound answer. Nikki, I don't need your answer. I know what you are. I know you intimately. No, I'm kidding. I know that you're a Jade out there looking for your kit, sometimes quite literally. But you really are.
My question is, why is Thraxis Relaxis not an option?
Thraxis, that's the ultimate.
I'm going to add a question. On a scale of Graydon to Thraxis, how much of an SLUT are you? I don't know if I could say that and risk monetization issues, so I spelled it like I'm a parent with a toddler. Maggie, do you want to jump in on this romance question? I don't know what your love life is like, but if you want to unpack it or roast anyone, feel free.
I think in every relationship in my life, romantic or platonic, very much a kit. I think I do, in a lot of ways, have walls up for various reasons, you know, from growing up, from just my personality in general. And I am rather impulsive and do tend to speak before I think, act before I think a lot of times. And I see a lot of that in Kit and a lot of that in myself. But much like Kit, once I am committed to you, once I know you're a part of my life, and once I care about you, I am a ride or die for you, and I will put on a shiny suit of armor and take on my like possessed brother for you.
Love that. That's a vibe. That's a vibe. And you have a brother. What are the odds? What are the odds that you could actually kick your brother's ass?
Oh, he could kick my ass for sure, but I will say that he has the definitive himbo energy of Eric for sure.
Okay, love that. We love somebody that is a lovable himbo, absolutely. Of which Eric definitely is. Even when he's haircut, tricked out metal Eric, he's still a himbo. He still couldn't fully shake it. You can't just abandon that. It's in your DNA. Now, I'm glad you said that.
Really shook me when I first saw him. The whole makeover, really. I was like, what? How dare?
Yeah.
What? I have all the feelings.
I feel like somewhere out there, wherever he is in canon, Mad Mardigan was shook knowing that his son's beautiful hair was cut.
That's where he drew the line for sure.
Evil, clean cut Eric. That was stressful for me, especially, you know, as someone who's been avoiding haircuts his whole life. Like, it's just that was upsetting deeply.
Yeah. This was okay. So there's more evidence. So Jez Hunt is here in the comments. He worked on the show. He mentioned he worked on the leather work. It's 3 a.m., so he's not gonna pop in. But Jez, thanks so much. We'll talk off air about something. Christian Slater asking what Jez did on the show. And then Jez saying, if you're the Christian Slater, I made your bracer and belt. I was a leather worker.
Gosh.
So there's a whole mystery here about whether or not this is actually Christian.
Oh my god.
The subplot's fascinating. Pump up the volume. Great, like, buddy.
Christian's like, did we share Nando's? Like, I don't know.
Wow, I'm just fascinated by this happening. Christian Slater, big fan. How great was Maggie the other day when she interviewed you? That's good stuff. That'll be down below for people to check that out. And Maggie, you mentioned the Chimerian Curious. We're going to keep going, by the way, with roundtable questions. Unless you want to jump in, we'll stop for you. Do you think that you could actually activate the Chimerian Curious? Anyone that wants to jump in, would it work for you, or do you feel like maybe there's someone you know or someone you're supposed to know, and that you're more of the Borman in this situation?
I was gonna say, I would love to think that I'm the Kit in this scenario, and maybe I am. I don't know. I'm very, very self-deprecating in that sense, but I do think, especially with my relationships to my friends, that I am more of the Borman. That it's like, no, I'm willing to be the sort of supporting character in your story rather than be the one to as I said earlier, I don't have the upper body strength to wield a sword anyway, so
yeah, that tracks.
But
But then there's
about-
that neat one built in to the wrist.
that's true.
Yeah.
Maggie, could you wield a flute?
I could. I think I could. I can't play one, but I can wield one.
They opened the door there. I'm just saying, like, I love that the idea was introduced in this season that like objects of importance could be conduits for magic. That was fun. I'm here for that.
I loved that, and I love it because. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it gave me Hocus Pocus vibes when they just picked a vacuum cleaner to ride as a broom, and I was like, anything can be magic.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I've always loved stuff like that. I mean, there's that other magical franchise which I will never litigate on the internet, where someone has an umbrella instead of a wand, and stuff like that is always it builds character, and it imbues the characters with more of a unique quality, and the possibility now of seeing Elora Danan doing a flute solo that also blasts people like in the second season would be perfectly on brand for the show. And be
all right,
wonderful.
Alden. I just realized we need Lizzo in season 2.
Lizzo
There
music
we
or
go.
Lizzo
Yeah.
actually in the season, or both.
Both.
A live
down.
performance.
Yeah.
Lizzo is like a Tira Celine bard, like off to the side with that crystal flute that she.
That was
played.
Bev Mortis'
my
crystal
God.
flute.
Yeah, James Madison. James Madison's glass flute. Yeah.
Oh,
Go.
that's
That has to happen.
I'm gonna tweet Lizzo right now. Will you be in
Oh, definitely. Come on, Jez, make it happen.
Lizzo?
Come on, Christian.
What about somebody else want to jump in on the Chimerian question? Do you think you could do it? Or you
I think it'd
balanced
be.
it up for that?
I'll be honest. I think it'd be a situation where I have more faith in my kid, and like I would trust her to activate the Cuirass more than myself. Much like Borman entrusted Kit. But I would want it to work for me. I think it would be the whole like anticlimactic turn it and no sound effects. Not because I have no faith in myself, just because like I love the whole idea that Kit has a role to play and she steps into it, and that predestined role for her isn't as severe as it is for Elora, but it's no less impactful. And I like that after she activated, she's like, I'm going to keep it on for a second. I'm going to keep it on. All right. I earned this. And she did.
And then the entire audience was Jade. Like, I think you should.
Yeah.
Keep it on.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very like this is obviously John Kasdan working off of what Bob Dolman and Ron Howard did, working off of George's idea. So it's a few degrees removed from the man. But George has said about being a parent, the best thing about being a parent is that you don't matter anymore. That is an exact George quote, and it's
liberating.
Yeah,
and
that's why I'm not a parent.
Nikki's like, oh, I matter. Let's be clear about that. But yeah, the idea that it couldn't be Allagash, his partner, couldn't be Borman, his squire. It had to be his kid. And what's brilliant about that, what I love, is that they told us. The legend is about a mother making the Cuirass for her child to protect her kid. It was built in, but it's like one of the show's great magic tricks of making you think, oh, it's purely technical. If you have device A and device B, it'll work. And that's not the business that Lucasfilm is in with any of their properties. Indy does not work like that. Star Wars doesn't work like that. And neither does Willow. They're a way less scientific thing as just in terms of all of their properties. If anyone else has a Chimerian Cuirass thoughts or anything about that arc, or about the sort of the quest, the fetch quest as they call it in MMOs, that whole like we'll get this and we'll get this and we'll do this, feel free to jump in and express yourself.
I think I would rather be the one to give it to someone else to use in that pivotal moment. I don't know. It just feels like it almost feels more fun to be like, here you go, kid. It's your turn now. And then just like tip my hat and walk off into the sunset. Like,
yeah. I think that's liberating in a way. By the way, Savannah Smith here with a vote of confidence for Maggie.
There you go.
Seems
That would be my
badass
best friend. Yeah.
badass enough.
I'm surprised Christian Slater has not chimed in yet.
Christian Slater, not
Yeah,
Allagash. You, Christian Slater, the performer. Could you do it?
May I ask Christian a quick question? And I just want to be direct and honest, sir. Your character was he named after the brewery in Maine? Because I love that brewery, and they make a lot of fine beer. The finest of which is Allagash Curio. It's a Belgian ale aged in bourbon barrels, and it's like it's north of 10%. Delicious stuff. I like to think you're named after that brewery, so just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I've actually had that beer, and it is delicious.
It is.
Really?
Thank you, Molly. They serve it coast to coast. I've had it. I had it out in LA once on draft. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it made it out there. Yeah,
love that. That's gonna serve us beautifully the next time we all get together and
Yeah.
get our stuff.
there you go.
Really excited about that. Now, this was not a question that I had planned, but Garth McMurray has a great comment here that his drawing pencil would be his wand. So you know where I'm going with this now. What is the object that you think you could channel magic through? And if it's within arm's reach, feel free. This is not NBC or the BBC, so I'm not going to care if you get up to do a bit. Feel free. I don't know.
I just grabbed my closest makeup brush.
Yes, Molly, absolutely. That is such a good answer.
That is a great answer.
That's what I got.
Mine is going to be ridiculously sentimental, but I've had the same stuffed bear since the day I was born. His name is Fairbanks, and I feel like if anything was going to channel magic, it would be this guy.
His name is Fairbanks?
Yes.
Oh,
what a wonderful name for, I'm presuming, a toddler to give a stuffed animal. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think he actually came with that. But yeah, if he's kind of grimy, but like if anything's going to channel magic, it's going to be this guy. I'm gonna now.
He's a fan of Alaska and classic film.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow the Graydon route.
Hell yeah!
And it's also good because it's got a natural like aiming thing, so I could just pop spells off. But I also will approach the last question, and I'm gonna roll the dice on myself, and I'm gonna say the curious will work because. Without turning this into a therapy session, I think with me underneath the goofer, the whatever I am, whatever I act like I am, I think I am the person who, when the time comes, I will get the job done. I will do the right thing. I know love is about sacrifice. I think it would work. I don't mind being the hero.
I love that, and I will be the first person to help you put that on.
Jam the Lux Arcana.
I
right
absolutely
there.
will be that person. Yes,
That's
I love
beautiful. That was beautiful. It'll look so good on you too. I like to think that like it customizes itself based on the wearer, which like it has to for size, right? Because but I want to imagine that it throws a little something in there, like maybe
like
that
assless chaps. Like what are you talking about?
Well, you said it. I was gonna say like a cape or something.
Okay.
Or like a weapon, like how it gave her the second sword.
Yeah, that's fair. It's probably better used.
But yeah, chainmail assless chaps. I mean, anything's possible.
I want mine with a little fanny pack.
I love that.
But Molly, you need. And here's the thing, I really this is a small nitpick, guys, but I really wish we had people turning to stone, but we didn't have any acorns.
Oh, I know. I thought
I know, like, and I can imagine Molly with a bunch of little acorns in her fanny pack, just chucking them at people. Like, that's what you get. I could see that.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you get the Bowie cod piece from the Labyrinth? Yeah, but it's made of the same material, so it's a big metal version. The big like chain metal bulge that shows up and really impresses everybody. Adam, Chase, do you have magical items that you're prepared for?
I think mine would probably be, this is kind of random, but I have like a small little stick from my like childhood home that's like off a tree in front of our house, and I have it, and it kind of looks like Shalindria's wand. It's like kind of like, you know, there's a little squiggle thing. So yeah, I'd probably use that. I think it's like probably one of the most meaningful things I have in here, because home means a lot to me, and I haven't lived at home in a long time. So I'd say that, because I also like, I'm a very family person, and so I feel like I'd really be able to channel like my family with it, which is important to me. So yeah.
Love that.
Love it.
Love that. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, you try and think of what would be a practical apparatus in a Magic battle, and my sentimental objects aren't necessarily predisposed to that. But if I'm being completely honest, like one of these, a vinyl pressing I have of the Tom Waits album, Heart of Saturday Night, came at a certain point in my life where it just, I've gone back to that album and I listened to it on a lot of days where, like, I don't have to. The thing I love about listening to a record is, it can't be interrupted by the internet or anything. Like, I love streaming music. We all do. It's practical. It's great. But if there was a way for me to weaponize magically, like almost in a Shaun of the Dead style, my favorite record, that's kind of what I'm getting at, guys. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Magical
I
throwing
need you to
discs.
have like 7-inch single, just like shuriken
Yes.
you can get people in the arm with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And depending on the RPM speed, it might have different effects.
Ooh.
So
Mm.
I'm totally into that.
This is the
But
visual.
would there
I see
be
as well.
ones? Would there be ones that you would pick up and be like, "Ooh, not this one. No. I want to save that one."
Yeah, I love that. That's really, really great. I'm struggling to think of one here. I mean, there are some childhood items like my Luke's green lightsaber toy that I've had since I was like 6. With if you empowered that and it actually looked like a magical lightsaber, that would be cool. But the answer I keep coming back to is my dog, Mando. Like, could I just like look at my dog?
It's like laser
and, like,
cats.
Yeah, just like empower him, kind of like the little girl in Love and Thunder that has the stuffed animal, which is kind of what I think what you would end up doing, Maggie. Like little Fairbanks just opens his mouth and just like dragon fire or something comes out. But yeah, I think that if I could have Mando, because he's half Pomeranian, half a Shiba. Go to my social media if you want to see his handsome little mug. But if I empowered him with the bloodstream of the universe, as Willow describes it, would he grow to like full wolf size? Because that's what I want.
Oh my god, he'd be like your dark dog. Like just this huge, like, magical
he just
size.
Yes, like
dire wolf size,
like a dire wolf size version of him. Yeah, but with the same attitude. Like, he still makes the same dumb, like a little face.
Still memeable.
Yeah, still a meme. Yeah, that'd be great. So everybody comment with yours. Eric says a mood ring. That'd be great. Oh, Christian Slater commented Allagash. Is that so? That's his last name?
Oh, yes. So that's how it's spelled. That's how the actual beer is spelled.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a killer beer. You gotta. If you haven't had it, treat yourselves, people. Come on.
That's great. Like this. So we've got beam out of the tails. He wags it. Sweeps side to side, taking out an army. I like where your head's at. I like that. That'd be great.
Does anyone remember Mega Man's dog, Rush?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the vibe I'm getting here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love that. So yeah, dogs, vinyls, teddy bears, makeup, sticks, instruments. What a crew! What a crew we have.
I could also see yours, Alden, being your microphone.
I thought about it, but then I was like, "Oh, am I gonna be like I think I'm so good on the?"
No, I'll say it for you. I'll say it for you, Alden. I think it'd be your microphone.
If I had spoken to it, my voice would just like reverberate and kill people, which people already act like it does when I say something that they don't want me to or that they don't like.
Is it like Black Bolt from Marvel or whatever?
Yes, exactly.
Black
Bolt, you can't even hear it without just being destroyed. Except instead of them being destroyed because they tapped into dark magic, they just blocked me because I said something true. Here's a question that I have mentioning microphones and podcasts. A lot of nice natural segues tonight. Which Willow character would you want a podcast with?
Oh,
for me, it's Alora. I need to sit down, and we're talking character, not actor, right? We're talking
characters. Yeah.
I need to sit down with Alora, and we just need to talk about self-empowerment. It's like a self-empowerment podcast and how to own your shit, your good shit, your bad shit, and also in a grounded, humble way. Like that is the vibe, and we're gonna have a little self-help talk together.
Love that. I could see there being like a live component, like you're recording, but you also go on Instagram Live while she bakes while you talk.
Yeah, exactly. Be kind of like grounded and down to earth, but kind of talking big, heady concepts. Yeah.
Love that. That's really great. Anyone else have something that jumps to them? Everybody here is on the mic very frequently, or is going to be more frequently as things go, or didn't expect to be in your case, Maggie, and now is.
I would do so. My mind immediately went to Borman because he would just be hilarious. But my real answer is the crone. I just want to see what she's watching currently on Netflix. I want to sit her down, be like, let's get into it. Let's have a heart to heart. I don't think she would agree to do it, but
yeah. Do you think she's like a murderino type that like loves all the true crime and all those shows that like my mom watches? My mom loves, if there's a show about a vengeful woman like slicing a man's part off, my mom has watched it. Like, that's Diane flavor stuff right there. Yeah. What about the rest of you? Anyone that you want on your show?
I would want to if we can be any character on the show, there's no shortage of great options, but to go a little deep, I would want to have a podcast with Hubert, played by Hannah Waddingham.
Yes.
Great stories. Live from the cabin.
Yeah.
like that was the tip of the iceberg with that character, and I think they left the door open in a mystical, like Tom Bombadil enough way that like in season 2, if Hubert just came back, I'd be like, that's cool. I don't need an explanation.
Yeah, I love that.
I would love to talk to Hubert about everything.
Yeah, she had so much to say. There's so many stories to tell, I think.
I think some of the most relatable moments I had with a character were Kit winning the drinking game and Kit being mean to people. So I think I would do a roast podcast with Kit Tantalos. It'd be Truth Plums with Kit Tantalos and Nikki.
Nice.
And we would just go in on people. Like call them Miss Muffins, all the classics would be coming
about their
out.
Farts.
Yeah, you put possum in your muffins, yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I love that.
I love the Truth Plums aspect of it too.
Yes.
So good.
By the way, I think you can just soak plums in vodka and call them Truth Plums.
Yeah, they are possible to achieve.
There we go.
Go ahead, Maggie.
I'm thinking like there's two options here, because one, I would love to do a very like academic style podcast with Graydon, because I do think he's very smart, and I do think if you let him go long, he could talk about stuff for hours. But really, the thing that I would love to do is like a my brother and me style advice show with Borman and Eric. Just terrible advice that you should never take, occasionally sprinkled in with like Scorpia in the background. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I love that. That's great. I mean, Borman's romance advice and his thoughts on women and about how they respond and everything, all of it was so absurd. And Eric just having this reputation of being sort of like the womanizing prince, like his tips have to be even worse. Because he's got, money and status. Chase, you do a few different genres of shows. Does anybody jump out or anything particular?
Wait, I think honestly I would love to do a show with Saris too. Saris the troll.
Thank God someone said it.
No,
I was gonna throw it out if no one did.
I need to sit down with that man.
A workers' rights type show, like progressive politics, like
yes, exactly.
Talking about unions.
I would love nothing more. Saris is like one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite episodes. I really hope he comes back. But yeah, I would love to have a show with him. But it would have to be like one of those like kind of like this, like where everyone like we call in and we zoom in with each other. Kind of maybe like kind of like the advice vibes. But yeah, I just love
Molly.
Saris.
Did you go? Did you go, Molly?
Yeah, Crone. The Crone.
You went to Crone. So everybody went. Okay, everybody went. Okay, cool. Just making sure, because I went back to Chase.
She's going to happy hour with the Crone.
Happy hour with the Crone. But follow up on that though. what would the policy be for the show for letting the crone switch to her true form? Would she have to be hot crone the entire time, or is it
No.
just dealer's
I
choice, whatever
don't-
she wants?
I don't want hot crone.
Pop
I
dye.
want
the real deal.
messy, scary,
Giant
crazy
corpsey
looking.
crone.
Yes.
Respect that.
So did Eric.
Yeah. Oh man, poor guy. That was a rough moment. One of the biggest L's in fantasy history was thinking that you're kissing a sand snake and ending up with a corpse.
The dude was stuck in the Immemorial City the entire show. Like, and
Oh,
I love this series, but I will say this: Eric got sidelined pretty hard, and that was rough until the
did.
very end. Yeah.
But now I feel like shifting. We'll talk about this now, I guess. Shifting Graydon out, letting us in on the secret that he's back, and keeping the characters out is an interesting way to play it, where sometimes characters keep things from the audience, or we all find out together. They've let us know that he's okay, relatively. I mean, he's not okay, but he is alive. And now we've got Eric in the group. How do you think Eric changes the group dynamic? And how do you think Graydon does without a group? Because I feel like all of his growth really came from the mutual support. And now he only has a gaslighting worm Allura to lead him astray.
Nice.
I think I said this when I was on the show, where when you isolate Eric in the Immemorial City away from his parents, he was obviously very close with his mother, from his sister, from all of these women that are fawning over him. He's at a disadvantage because he doesn't know how to operate, because, for lack of a better word, he is a playboy. He's used to being the center of attention. So to isolate him really is the key to breaking him down and getting him to be the pawn of the worm. And I think, in a similar but not exactly the same fashion, I think the same is true with Graydon, because I think his entire life, post his brother falling / getting knocked out of a tree, he was by himself. He was alone. He didn't have anyone. Maybe he had his mother. We don't really know much about that relationship, but he was pretty lonesome. And I think he was coming into being something that he really liked, becoming a person he really liked with Allura, and even with Kit, who, harangues the hell out of him. He was becoming a better version of himself. So I think to isolate him and put him in a place where not only is he mostly by himself, but the only person he can see is this version or mask of the one person that did truly understand him. I think that the being alone is going to really mess with his psyche. I don't know how. I don't know what it's going to do to him. I don't know, to what point the worm is going to be able to manipulate him. But I do think bringing him into this found family and then taking him back out is really going to mess with his head.
Yeah.
He's up for a rough ride, I think.
Could Kenneth rescue Graydon? I hope. Kenneth might be my favorite side character, and a moment that I loved was Graydon letting Kenneth go, because Graydon knows what it's like to be used and abused. And what's interesting about, in a very sad way, about the worm now preying on Graydon is that this is the third time that dark eldritch forces have preyed on Graydon specifically. The phrase "child of destiny" gets thrown around a lot in like discussions about myth and fantasy and stuff, but that doesn't have an inherently good or bad connotation. Like, in the same way that good is inherently tied in with and imbued into Allura Dannon, could Graydon's journey be, not that he's going to have, it's a villain origin story, I'm not saying that, but that's what he's fighting, is that he is the other side of that coin, that he's the wrong one in a certain degree. I think that's something that this team of writers in particular would have a lot of fun with.
I want to read Graydon's romance novel that features the protagonist of Kenneth, because that really piqued my interest. And also, I just applaud the writers and producers of the show for adapting to the reality of Tony Revolori having to shave his facial hair. I feel like if Warner Brothers had done the reverse of that for Henry Cavill, we could have avoided a lot of pain. I'm fine with Superman with a mustache, personally. I am, but that's just me. But shaved Graydon was not a problem, and it actually, the way it played into the story was so great, because the way his beard gave him confidence, like this false confidence. Tony Revolori's performance in this was just fantastic. I loved how earnestly funny he was without being a constant punchline. He was just he really endeared himself to me.
Mm-hmm. I really love the use of his real life brothers too.
Yeah.
I thought that was they're a super fun move.
His brother's name in the show is Dermot, right? The character is
Mhm.
Dermot, which just made me happy. I was like, oh, there's a Dermot in Willow. That's cool.
Yeah. The show being able to do things like that and casting choices like that, and sometimes out of real life necessity, like Jack Kilmer coming in and voicing Matt Mardigan, and which is like just a really classy move, but even in fun on the nose ways. Having not just Annabelle Davis in the show, but both Harrison and Annabelle Davis stunt double for Warwick. There's been photos of both of them with the wig of their dad, which has got to be really surreal and fun. Can't wait for the behind the scenes doc at the time of this recording. If you're listening to it after the fact, we're about a week out from that, which looks great. But does anybody else have season 2 thoughts while we're already starting to get into it? They called their shot and showed us. I thought if the book ever closed, that it would be volume 2. The movie would be retroactively volume 1, and maybe we'd get another season. And they were like, "No, I need 3." John said, "Give me 3, Kathy." Flipping through all his dollars. I need more. I think it was really bold of them to do that. It's smart to get people on your side in this day and age, in a world where fan campaigns happen in a reactionary way to cancellations. This show was like, no, we'll start our own campaign, thank you. Which I think is very fitting.
Didn't he originally say he wanted a trilogy for Solo though too?
He did. This almost feels like him saying, "You're not going to burn me again."
Yeah, that thought haunts me for this series, and I don't think that is the case.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's more thought out than that. But I had that thought today, and I was like, wait, no.
Yeah. The John Kasdan Twitter thread of here's what I would have done and what I wish I could have done and all that stuff. And yeah, I feel like they're in a much better spot with that. And this was on a meta way his sort of not coming out party, because he's been around, and so is his brother with Jumanji and things like that. But to not have his dad working on it with him and to be able to take it fully into his generation, this feels like a 90s kid made this. And it feels like it has a lot of, it's just really bold. And to like Ken said, the needle drop with Money for Nothing, and then the dragons, a 2-headed dragon in the back, and all these creatures and everything, and then following up the post credits with like another little sting of like, boom, here it is. This is what we need. This is what we want to do. Knowing that it's a trilogy, I think is it works. Like if it was canceled tomorrow, which like Monkey's Paw, like knock on wood, whatever thing, I don't want that to happen.
They're going to recast it with Jared Leto.
Oh, yeah.
No.
As Willow.
As Willow. Oh, R.I.P. Tron 3. Tron 3 DOA. Yeah. That's bad. God, we wish smart for so long.
Oh, no.
We goofed. We really goofed.
It's Willow in time.
God, no. Oh,
no.
Willow fighting Morbius. Someone make the fan art. Someone out there. But yeah, I mean, it's just it feels very like I said bold, but like confident, sort of in a wink, nudge way. Very modern to do something like that when we know what fan culture is like. It feels complete. And I'd be always satisfied with this story, with this party forming, if for some reason it never continued. But there are things that it had the confidence to just never do or touch. Like there's no Willow Sorsha reconciliation, which feels like the most obvious thing ever after episodes 1 and 2. You're like, oh, I can't wait to see them bury the hatchet. Does not happen. A more explicit Willow backstory is never shared. You only get the vaguest sort of hints and a little bit of his admission of guilt and pain. You never find out where Mad Mardigan is and how he's communicating. Doesn't matter for this chapter. There's a lot of doesn't matter for this chapter, which I think pisses people off sometimes. Molly, you're in the business of explaining. And this show sort of was like, no need to do that.
Oh, it was such a breath of fresh air, honestly. Like, and I love the fact that this show is based off of one movie, and that's it. There's no legends. There's no actually there were comics I think made, but I don't know what they're about.
Yeah, like, Adam has all of them.
Guaranteed. Honest to God, I did a book report in the 10th grade on the novelization of Willow.
Yeah.
True story. I got an A-.
A-.
Yeah.
Minus.
Yeah. She wasn't. She's like, I haven't heard of this book. Yeah, fine.
This is not from the
Is it
approved
basically
list.
the same story though as the movie?
It is, but they had a few embellishments that were great. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
that's
just
awesome.
I love getting a show like this that's heavily fantasy, but
Mhm.
not a lot of lore to really back it up. So they can go in just about any direction they want to.
Yeah. I think my big question for season 2 is how you negate the Chimerian Cuirass, because it's kind of like earning the Elder Wand at the beginning of the series. And like how do you make this I'm now invincible thing not powerful anymore? Like I think that's kind of like important stakes for potentially for Kit. And
This sort of has
I
the
wonder if
challenge
it's
that like video games have, right? Like when we sequelize something, like how do we depower you and get your progression back? Get you to the point to do it. Like that's the challenge with Jedi Survivor, right? Is you spend all of Fallen Order overcoming trauma to regain your abilities, and now we're doing a sequel where it's like, what do I do? Same with Batman. We always take his gadgets away.
Right. So like I wonder if it's like, does it only work for you in a moment? Are you always worthy of it? Is it something like the wand where you have to make the choice to put it away? You bury it.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I'm really curious. Really curious about the Cuirass.
I was so gonna bring that up.
The NES game?
Did anyone else play the NES game?
Yes, I played it repeatedly. Of course I did. I grew up in the age where I no shit. Oh, sorry.
That's good.
No S. I had a library that had NES games. Yeah.
Ooh.
And they had the Willow game, and I played. Yeah, exactly. But I played the ever living crap out of the Willow video game, the little Zelda ripoff that it is, and it's delightful. You get to fight bubbles with a sword, and the music's so awesome. I wish if there were a vinyl pressing of the Willow video game soundtrack, I would pay $100 for it. I
loved that game, but I was so young because like I think my sister had it or my sister got it from someone else, and so like I had it growing up, and I hadn't seen the movie, so I was like, I don't know what this is, but I played it all the time. It was like my first introduction to an RPG game, but I didn't know the story, and I was just kind of like wandering around, but it was so fun and cute, and I was just like, I hadn't thought about the game in years, and then I remembered it the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I played that so much growing up. There is a full playthrough on YouTube that I found. It's like 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, it's Adams.
I was watching.
I'm like, damn it! It's a hard game.
Yeah, it brought back so much nostalgia.
That's awesome, Adam. If I can get that on like emulator or something, we'll do it here on the channel.
They should just do an HD re-release as a download. They got nothing to lose. It must be a rights issue. Make it happen.
On the App Store or something. Yeah, it's probably a company that doesn't exist anymore made it, and now the lights are in the rights are in limbo forever. Yeah, we got a lot of love for this game. A lot of love for Adam. Yeah, what were we talking about? Something.
We were talking about the volume 1, 2, and 3 drop, and I just have to say, I don't know if this is out of pocket, but like it was so hot. Like nothing is hotter than an artist being like, I have a plan and this is how I'm doing it. Like it was just hot. And I just love John Kasdan because he literally was like, he's like, yeah, I remember watching Willow as a kid and like watching being like attracted to what was happening on the screen and attracted to the attraction that characters felt between each other. And he talks a lot about sort of like that wanting to kiss, you know what I mean? And the show had it a lot. This series had it. And then girl, when he pulled out those volume 1, 2, and 3, I was like, now I'm feeling it in a meta way, which it was just so attractive to be able to do that. And it was, and I will say, I wish I never heard the solo thing. I wish to unhear it.
Sorry.
Because I was like literally ever since they dropped the trailer for the documentary, which I have never been more excited for a docuseries in my life, including all the amazing Star Wars docuseries. Like this is the one. But ever since they've announced that, I've kind of been riding on a high of like, they wouldn't give us a documentary series unless they were like really kind of trying to push that Willow agenda. Or they would release it to button it, which would be awful. But there's no way.
They've got to really lean in. Like, you know, we're not a channel that does like the business talk of like, well, how is it doing in the rate? Because frankly, I don't care, and most of that stuff is inaccurate anyway. We saw the whole like Android ratings aren't good, and then some guy has to go and tweet his L about how his made up algorithm doesn't work. But like, yeah, I mean, it's just it's a thing that I want to see grow. Like Indiana Jones is getting a figure line. Like I want to see, like, it's called the Adventure series. I want to see the Sorcerer series. Give me a bunch of action figures, and they have got a few that are done like in the retro style, but they don't have the whole crew. And you know, we need a full Kit Tantalos and the Chimerian Cuirass armor.
That Hot Toys lineup.
You guys, I want a Hot
The
Toys
license,
so
baby.
bad. I really,
Hot
like.
Toys.
I need it.
Let's talk about something before we're out of here, because we're not going to go super much longer, maybe like another 15-20 minutes. You talked about sort of the inherent attractiveness that Kasdan spoke about, and I think that there's a lot to unpack with like romance with a capital R. It's a romance, and romance with a lowercase r, where it's romantic, where even the stuff that is not about a couple or about a love story has a romance to it. And I think that that's this entire world feels just very sweeping and romantic and inviting and cute and sexy and fun and engaging. What do you think is like the beating heart of that in this world building? Like, what do you, is it that we're not going to explain everything sort of confidence, but it's almost like the show's a flirt. Like it's going to give as much as it feels like giving, and then it's gonna like walk away, and then when it walks away, you're like, I didn't even get her number. Like that's the energy that this show has.
I agree, and I was thinking about it similarly, but in a different way. I kind of think about it like it's a show that there's a mystery there, but it also like gives you, it like also puts it all on the table unapologetically. So it's like this like person who's like telling you exactly what the vibe is. You either get it or you don't, but also like there always could be more. You never really know. So yeah.
That's what I like people to do when I meet them. Is this,
just enhance. And the last thing I'll say is it's in that juxtaposition is something that the show establishes in so many different ways. It is funny and it's serious. It's dark, but it's light. It's like it's every single, and as a non-binary gay, I am living, because it's just this perfect balance of like of being both things and being neither the things and being all the things on every axis. So I just find the totality of it to be very unique and engaging.
I agree with that. Like I told you, Alden, when we first were talking about this show, I know you don't watch The Witcher, but one thing I like about The Witcher is it's very pulpy, and Willow is kind of the PG-13 version of that, but also very distinct from The Witcher at the same time. But I think one thing they share is their pulpiness in a good way. Yeah. And for me, the peak sexiness was Borman and Scorpia dancing to Crimson and Clover, and she says, I could just make you my prisoner, and he says, that's the thing, I already am. Woo! And I was just like, oh,
that's
I replayed that line like 4 times.
There is that moment, and then the training montage going straight into the romance scene.
Hell yeah.
With Tanthamore, as the kids are calling it. Wow. It's like pretty unfair that those people not only exist, but that they got cast in the same show and have chemistry like that. Because there are people that are very extremely talented, very visually appealing, charismatic, all those things, but they don't have chemistry.
50 Shades of Grey could never.
That's
it could never accomplish what Willow.
However, 50 Shades of Grey absolutely could.
There you go.
There you go.
Have you seen
is it Grey Laura?
That's gonna be season 2. 50 Shades.
Yeah, have you seen the thing? There was some I can't remember who did the interview, but Tony Arvalori was talking to somebody about what kind of romantic farce Graydon was writing in his little notebook. Because it's not as like innocent as I think a lot of people initially thought.
I think it probably, if you worked on it along the journey, it probably got steamier and steamier.
I would hope
as we went. And I'm not like, because I think that Kit and Jade is like, that satisfies not only the romantic quotient for this show, but for like possibly all of TV at this point. So I don't need the Graydon and Allura thing to happen, but I like that it was organic enough that it's something we could revisit down the road if they felt inspired enough to do it. He handled his admission of love for her and it was a very mature way. It didn't feel like it put pressure on her. It wasn't unfair. It wasn't weird in that regard. I'm not sure if Adam dipped or if he had to go, but I'll just put him back when he gets back. But yeah, it felt right. And it felt like what was romantic in the show worked and didn't work in ways that were natural. By the time you get to the, I don't think I'm into you anymore at that wedding moment, you're like, this is where it was going. It's not a screw you and you're awful and you're this. And it was very naturally young people.
And I'm curious where that goes in the end, because it's like they were, or for the continuation of the story, because it's like Eric and Dove, you know, they were the love that, you know, you're lucky to get once, if you know, if ever. And then and now it's like, oh wait, we're not a thing anymore. I wonder what Eric's like perspective of that is. So like, yeah, those are all like little curious breadcrumbs leading the way.
Yeah, I'm interested.
It feels. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Molly.
I was.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say he feels like.
Fight. Duel for the honors.
I'm just gonna start drinking and not
Yeah,
stop.
that's always
Maggie.
the best move. Just put the Shaw in your mouth.
Molly surrenders. Maggie, go, and then we'll go.
I think I'm interested to see how Eric works into the group, if you know, Parshan, and when we get a second season, because there's a lot of interesting dynamics that I could see coming into play there. One, I really just want to see Kit sort of roasting the hell out of him. Like, I want her to be like, so, you know, you made it with that. Like, I want to see the sibling thing, because Dempsey and Ruby do the sibling thing so well. And I do want to see how Eric figures in with Alora, and it's like, are they going to be awkward, or are they going to play that up for laughs? And I kind of also just want to see Eric and Borman together, because I think they're very similar characters, I think, at least in sort of sense of humor. And I think having a second character like that is going to really amp up the sort of antics in that way.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody talk, and we'll pretend that Molly didn't have something to say. No, I'm kidding. Molly, you go.
No, I was just gonna bring up the idea of redemption. You know, in Star Wars, we're hard pressed to get to see someone get redeemed and then live on to continue their story and what that looks like. And not that Eric was bad for that long. You know, he's really only bad for a short amount of time, but he was probably like really scarred from that, and that was really traumatic for him. So for us to be able to see his transition and what that looks like into season 2, yeah, like he doesn't have a place with this group right now, and he's got to figure out where he belongs at this point. So that's going to be cool to see.
And he's also behind his sister in terms of reckoning with Mad Mardigan's and Sorsha's actions and legacy. He didn't have the voice in his head moment. He didn't get to pick up his father's sword. He didn't have to face this vision of their mom, which was not accurate, but was still about the emotional growth. It wasn't Sorsha, but it was everything you internalized about Sorsha talking to you. Eric's had none of that. So now his sister has clarity and can say, no, I heard Dad. Dad encouraged me. And he didn't have that. And is that going to be a point of resentment now toward her? Is he going to feel like the unloved twin? Is he going to feel like the twin that got... Because he wasn't responsible for his... Well, to a point. He wasn't responsible once he got zombified. Like, he was drinking the Kool-Aid, but then when he goes full monster mode, we can't hold him responsible for that. Same way with Graydon. But he still might carry a little bit of, why did I get picked? Why me? In the same way that Alora hung over, Kit's entire life. Is this now going to be season 2 and 3? Eric's like, I'm the dumb one. I'm the one that everyone thought was less. I wasn't as good a warrior. I wasn't picked. Dad didn't call out to me. Dad didn't help when I was... So there's a lot of stuff there. Not that I want him to turn into an angsty problem, because the group dynamic is so pure and so great at this point, but it would be... I'm surprised if they don't deal with it in some way. It would be nice if Mad Mardigan reaches out and is like, by the way, I love you too. You're cool too.
I wonder though. Because this was something that I was watching the first couple episodes with a friend the last couple of days, and she brought up that I wonder if Eric's relationship with Mad Mardigan was similar to Kit's, because she brought up in a way that Eric very much feels like, for lack of a better word, like a mommy's boy. Like you see that first episode, and he is very much the, for lack of a better word, eldest daughter syndrome, like tension diffusing. Like Kit and Saoirse sort of start to get into it, and he's like, no, like we'll be fine. Like it's fine, everything's great, we'll be okay. He very much sort of exhibits more of those qualities that not necessarily that we would consider feminine, but that sort of do align more with his mother and his mother's point of view, where Kit is very much her father. She's this near carbon copy of Mad Mardigan, who is impulsive, who acts without thinking, that never shuts up. So I do wonder if Eric's relationship with Mad Mardigan is similar enough that it's going to cause tension, or if it is going to continue to be that we are our parents, but sort of Eric is Saoirse and Kit is Mad Mardigan in that way.
Yeah, very well said.
I agree with that. I just like going off of that point real quick. With Eric, is even though it initially bothered me that he disappeared for a minute on the show, the thing that I liked about his absence was you learned so much about him through Kit and Elora. Yeah. And then when we finally catch up with him and they all get reunited, there is a new dynamic, especially with the absence of Graydon, like we were discussing earlier. So that with the progression of season 2, with Graydon stepping into that role, or with Eric stepping into the role that Graydon has vacated, we're going to see, I think, a lot of interesting dynamics take shape. Also because I think the friendship and the closeness that Kit and Elora have formed is obviously going to play into Eric's point of view as well. I think he's going to struggle to find his place in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric's going to have that Will Byers effect.
Yeah, it's like, I was on the bench for one season, but now I'm the key. It could be. I mean, if we get to season 2 and he's like, I feel the crone on the back of my neck, and they just straight up just do Stranger Things, like it would be like very blatant, but it also wouldn't feel wrong. Like I feel like you touch something like that with their bloodline that Kit was able to resist and choose the better path. Like, how does this change him going forward outside of the haircut?
I could also see them just like doing a Willow thing where it's like unfazed, just completely unfazed. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
true too.
Like, whatever.
Completely back to normal.
That could be
right.
I just want to bring up Brennan's comment here. Brennan donated $5 to validate my love of Dark Elora. It's true, man. Like I already, I'm a sucker for the goth queens. Somebody,
y'all know how I feel about Dark Ray, so I'm all in for Dark Elora.
Come on, like it's gonna.
I thought of you immediately.
And Ellie Bamber being able to now do a dual role, at least to some degree, is going to be very exciting playing this worm version. I want to go back to a question before we start to wind down a little bit. They ask here, we got Gordon Post asking, would you like to see them remake the game for the current generation of consoles?
Hell yeah, I would.
So yes, no, I wanted that first, and then let's open that up. Either bringing that game back in some way or expanding upon that. Like we've got Star Wars games ramping up even more than they already have been. We're in a good period for that. Lucasfilm Games, a newly minted division at the company, at least relatively new. Indiana Jones game is in development. And what would you do with a Willow video game? What would you want to play? Because there's a lot of stuff that gets thrown out, like Wiggleheim or Borman as a squire, or something with Shalindria, or Bavmorda versus Rizal. Like, there's lots of stories that are alluded to.
God.
I would want to go back in time for just a little bit and like explore a little bit more of what Willow's going through. Saoirse would be interesting to explore, just the time in between that we don't really know about. And obviously, I want to swing a sword around as Mad Mardigan. Please. Yeah. I want to do it.
Yeah.
I would kill for an open world RPG set in the Willowverse.
100%.
I would live for that. But if it were just a straightforward linear action game, that'd be cool too. But I would want it. Anything that they do like that's expanded beyond the live action show. I would love to see Lucasfilm do something animated for Willow or something as a video game for Willow that would connect the movie to the show and show us some of that in between time where we can't have Val, we can't have certain characters in live action. So let's connect the dots in video games and animation the way Star Wars does. And that's what I would love to see with Willow, especially if the live action continuation takes a while to come back. Fingers crossed, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
know they
would.
said there was a.
Sorry,
Keep
go
interrupting
ahead.
people. I'm so sorry.
No.
Yeah, no. I know they said there were that initially years and years ago that Lucasfilm had plans for an animated Willow series, and I don't know what the context would have been, what the story would have been, but I very desperately, I was talking about this with people, because we don't know what went on with Allagash and Borman and Madmartigan. I would love an animated show of just those three sort of on this, either on the quest for the Curious or something else, get Jack Kilmer in as Madmartigan. I would love to see that.
Christian Slater, if you're still in the comments, let's talk.
Drinking your Curio,
Yeah, let us know.
And I need to meet Chloe Allagash. Yeah, her story too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, video game wise, I would love to sort of like play a game set within the time where like the sixth phase betrayed that whole the blood of the sixth like backstory, like betraying the mothers and everything, just to have all these like evil witches betraying the mothers in the Grove. Like I think that would be really, really cool to play through.
That'd be fascinating. Nikki,
and
what
then
about
it leads
you?
up to Bav Morda.
Yes.
Ooh. I don't know. I guess something like kind of choose your own adventure type thing. Just let me be a knight in Commander Claymore's Shining Legion, and let me go to battle. And then also in the physical game realm, I'd love like a Hasbro like Easy Bake Muffin Oven or Muffin Oven. So that you can
a Miss Muffin Oven.
A Miss Muffin
Oven. That was fun to say.
So that you can get that perfect buttery goodness.
Yeah.
Love that. Jazz here had an idea: miniatures, trolls, and bone reavers.
Oh,
that'd be a lot of fun. People would have a lot of fun painting that. Is there a video game of rounding up the pigs at Nockmar, turning it back into people? A scene which still, I think, in terms of the disturbing quality, was not top in the show. Not that they tried to. I mean, there's nothing in the show that's really gross out body horror or anything like that. But I did like the way that they, on occasion, like with were rats, would do a practical stop motion effect when they felt like it.
Yeah.
It was like really like classy little touches like that, which had to be so fun for like Neil Scanlon and the creature shop at Lucas, for Kazan to be like, can you do this old school? Yeah. Kenneth, as a big practical. I want a life size. I'll pay any amount. Yeah, I'll pay anything.
That's how I feel about most Willow at this point, you guys. Like, I don't need to buy anything else unless it's Willow. Like, if they release anything for Willow at this point, I'll buy one for the shelf and one for me to like, cuddle with. Like, I'm at the point where I'm buying two of everything. Like, I am ready to give them all my money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm dying at the shirt with it's him smiling.
Yeah.
This one,
it's so funny. God, it's so just peak like 90s school photo. I love it.
It's the dumbest shirt I own, but it is John Kasdan approved, so now I'm just gonna wear it everywhere.
There we go.
I want to rewatch the movie so bad now. Like I think about it all the time now because of thinking about just the show, and I think of Madmartigan swinging the sword around, and I think of Willow saying, "You are great."
Yeah,
and, like that just resounds in my head every day.
It's so wholesome.
I think of Rule yelling beer every day of my life.
Beer.
Yeah. When you're at work, you're like, I'll get to my Rules era soon.
Yeah.
I'll just beer. I don't know what job you're doing where you're doing this. I just picture you like moving something or scanning something or building something.
I'm never far from beer, Alden.
I love that for you. We're going to start wrapping up here in just a sec. I had one more question planned, unless anyone has something in the chat that they want to throw in before we get out of here. Talking about season 2 or season 3, volumes 2 and 3, are there people? This is great. A Madmartigan Snowball plushie. That'd be wonderful. There we go. This show did such a good job with Christian Slater. Hi, Hannah Waddingham. I hope you're watching too. With picking the right cast members, but also picking the right people for small roles, for one episode roles, for roles that are gonna hopefully be revisited down the road, like Scorpia and her rebellion that she's leading that is probably happening at the same time as the rest of the quest. Are there people that you would want to see join this world that you think have the right sense of humor, that have the right energy that you would like to see join, and what kind of role would you give them?
I mean,
This is a
Lizzo, we
very
already talked
specific-
about.
Yeah.
Lizzo's number one.
Yeah, Lizzo obviously.
Lizzo all but
Um,
confirmed.
I know Rule is not interested in going on an adventure anymore, but Kevin Pollak coming back meant a lot to me. I was so satisfied to see him. I do want Rick Overton to come back as Frangine at some point. That would mean a lot as
Yes.
well. I want more from the Brownies in another season.
Mhm.
So I'm eager for that, for sure.
Bring back the love dust or whatever that stuff was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be so funny.
Oh my god, and it should accidentally happen between Borman and Eric on the way back.
Oh
100,000%, bro. That
well, we
needs
know
to
that
happen.
Borman
Dust
is
of the Broken Hearts
canonically-
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
canonically
yeah.
queer.
Yes,
So
exactly. It
It's
has to
already
happen.
right there.
Let's
That's
all
a
make
fanfic
out. is
waiting
what he
to
says,
happen.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Speaking of Borman, this is a very specific want for this, but I am kind of desperate to. Borman mentions his mother a couple of times, and like I know this is a far out want, but I would love to meet his mother for a couple of reasons, both because he does sort of repeatedly mention it. I know Kasdan and Amr have both separately mentioned that one of the things that they were talking about, in development was that Borman is not, some scrappy kid that Madmartigan picked up off the street to come be his squire. John wanted it to be that, he was from a well-off family, that he wasn't struggling, that he lived a very comfortable life, and that he felt inadequate with that. And that's why he sort of went off adventuring with Madmartigan. So I would love to sort of see what Borman's life was like before that. And I have a very specific actor in mind. It's Shobna Gulati, who is in, she's been in a bunch of things. She was Yaz's mother in Doctor Who. I saw her many years ago in Richard II in London. She's wonderful. And I think she could hold up to the sort of same snappy, energy that Amr brings to Borman.
Oh, that's such a good choice. I had just rewatched the first Jodie season recently. She's awesome. Yeah, that would be really cool. I would love that. Borman's rich mom, like he's bearing the lead about how wealthy he is on the way there, and they're like, oh, I wonder where Borman's from. Probably sucks. And then it's like this incredible balance. Like, no, that'd be fantastic. Anybody else that you would like to see join the show? I have a great comment here. I want to see Allagash disappearing under a heap of monsters in every series.
Yeah.
And Lucy Lawless would be so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know about appearances, but I do need more of what's happened with Willow in the interim. I need to know, like, I appreciate that they played their cards close to the vest with Kaya and Rhiannon, but that breaks my heart not knowing, and knowing that it's something that causes Willow pain. So I want to know more of that story, and I'm sure we'll learn that if there is another season.
You just had, like, what if bumping into Rhiannon and he's on his own adventures?
Yeah, because I was just relieved to know that the potential that Rhiannon's still alive. It sounds like Kaya's gone, but yeah, like we could have something cool in store for Rhiannon.
Oh, Rhiannon and Mims, and Mims is like, I'm the one that stayed, and you dipped. You left Dad. Oh, that would break my heart.
I mean, we need more of just the Nelwyn in general, I think.
Yes.
I want to see what, like, they were moved underground. I want them to, like, flourish.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the comedy of Willow just wanting to pick everything back up to the way it was, down to the finger trick, and it so clearly not being a satisfying life was I think poignant and funny. I don't know why, like, somebody that came to my mind, and I don't know if he'd ever do it, but it's because of his Sherlock Holmes. I feel like Robert Downey Jr. would fit in so perfectly for this world. And the fact that it's like, it's Kilmer, it's Slater, like, I feel like if you just pluck out of that brat pack of actors, with people like James Spader, Molly Ringwald, Robert Downey Jr., Matthew Broderick, just get everybody that was popular at that point, Kevin Bacon, who's already been on Disney Plus in the past few months. We love you, Kevin Bacon. That would be a lot of fun.
I'm gonna stick in the Ted Lasso family and give Brett Goldstein a call and see if he wants to be a brownie.
Oh my god,
that would be so funny. I almost thought of Taika for a brownie, but a really wrathful brownie played by Brett would be really cool.
I think Alex Winter, who plays Bill and Bill and Ted, would be game for this. I think he would fit right in. And I would want Christian Slater to come back for sure.
Because I love the idea of a running gag with Allagash. That Allagash can't be killed.
And the sound when he punches, it's got that Lucasfilm punch sound when he when he and Borman are having the fist fight. I love that guttural punching sound.
I love this pun. I love everything about it. It's fantastic. That's big brain humor.
I was just gonna say my contribution, I think, would probably like Gene Smart. I don't know if anyone. I just think Gene Smart would just look and perform fabulously in Willow. She would phenomenal. Be so amazing. So
Gene Smart and the HBO Watchmen is just one of the most incredible performances I've seen in like the last 10 years. She's amazing.
I would love to see Joan Cusack in the Willow verse.
Yes.
I was just thinking of just like 16 Candles, and there's so many good people in that. When you said Molly Ringwald, I was like, oh, Joan Cusack would be fun.
That would be fantastic. And I think that between this show and The Mandalorian, they've done a great job of like who has more to offer, like Amy Sedaris and Carl Weathers, like just people that have something that hasn't been tapped into yet. Because a lot of the times it's like you just end up playing moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, but being able to put them into hero roles, being able to put them into magical roles would be a lot of fun. Garth Murray says Kumail. One last question here. This one I'm going to throw to Adam just because you would be the one that knows. Are these George Lucas and Chris Claremont books or comics? Have you read them? What are they like? Are they canon? The internet just cried when I said that.
Now, maybe Garth could speak to this because I don't know the current status of a lot of the expanded material, but when I was really into Willow, like I got back into it in high school, and I was trying to find like expanded material, and I literally bought the novelization off of eBay for like $10, which was a lot of money at the time, guys. But the actual novels, I don't know if they're more readily available now, but I never had access to them, but I was interested in them. So I've heard of them, but never got to read them. They were rare.
Well, we'll look into them more, and who knows, maybe they pop up on this channel. Last call for questions, and while we're doing that, we'll sort of round robin some last thoughts. Here's a thought. They killed off Mad Mardigan in them. See, I vastly prefer what we got, because if you kill Mad Mardigan, then Kit doesn't exist.
And also the books, from my understanding, like, because I really wanted to read those, and I did a good amount of research on them, and I think that they seem like pretty serious and pretty heady and just different tonally than what like we're used to in Willow. Yeah. And then I also I have to look up on this part, but I think that there's something someone told me, that like there was sort of a reskinning element to these books. Like it was kind of like Chris Claremont doing his thing, and they kind of like made it Willow, if that makes sense. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily have like the vibes in it. So yeah, gotcha.
Vibes are essential.
I read all the reviews I could, and everyone's like, oh, it's like not willowy, it's like very serious and kind of like, so.
But if they reprinted them, I'd buy them. It's on them. They want on them, man.
Just to have them and to support it. Let's start with Maggie and start to sound off some last thoughts. Anything that you didn't get to say, you want to say, anything that you want to leave people with. The floor is yours.
Oh God, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I mean, I think my overarching thought about this is that it's been such a long time since a TV show has brought me just pure, unadulterated joy. I mean, I know that I came into this from a work perspective, I literally bothered my TV lead 2 months in advance saying, hey, can I review Willow? Because, I had to do my mom, right? My mother, Alden mentioned, my mother has been in love with this movie since it came out in 1988. So, I felt like I had to do her right. But I came into it from a work perspective, but it has been such a long time since I've been able to watch something and feel like a kid again, feel like not watch it with any of the, let's analyze the cinematography or the sound or whatever, which is sort of how I tend to go into things now. Not to say that I haven't analyzed it since, but it's been such a long time since I've gone in and just had an adventure that I haven't had since I was a kid, playing with lightsabers and plastic swords and everything else that Lucasfilm gave me, because I was lucky enough to be born when the Star Wars prequels were coming out. So I think it's such a different piece of TV, and like it, hate it, love the Sandman cover, hate the Sandman cover. I think it's a breath of fresh air for television that and Disney Plus especially has needed.
I agree. And if you hate the Sandman cover, I'll be the one that says it. You're wrong. The Sandman cover
It's
is great.
Rina Sawayama. How could you hate Rina Sawayama?
It's a great song. It's a great song. I'm not going to be nice about it. That was the line in the sand. That that being in the script too. Like Kazim posted the script page and was like, "We're getting that song no matter what." And that's not cheap. That is a lot of money. And Metallica, I know it's a cover, but they still would have the rights. They are very, very standoffish when it comes to requests and to getting their stuff. And like Netflix paid big to let Eddie play that in Stranger Things.
No, Metallica had a good year.
They did.
Yeah,
they really did.
That's what I was gonna say.
They made
It worked out
crazy
well
money.
for them.
Lots of people discovering them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Which is great. Going this way, Nikki, if you want to give us your closing thought.
Yeah, I guess yeah, when I always think about Willow now, I'll think back on sort of this moment in time and how, again, like House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, they felt like some of my favorite bands releasing a new album, and then Willow felt like discovering a new band, and they had like the sound that I needed. They had this vibe that I needed. And I think the way it approached pretty much everything it did with the humor, the bravado, the cast's dynamism, all these things, they really they helped me get out of like a creative rut that I was in. I was like sitting on 6, first page screenplays, and now I'm like, let's start typing. Because it's like, yeah, it's an amazing thing. And I think sort of like artists inspiring artists is probably like the greatest compliment I can give anything. Because it's like when you're making something and then that's building something in someone else, then I think that's the secret sauce for everything. That's success. And I hope it keeps going. I wish I was the one signing the checks at Lucasfilm, because like I wouldn't even take meetings for Willow. I'd be like, just text me, John. What do you need? Like I was telling Alden, like I'd be like the Key and Peele Obama meeting sketch where they'd be like, Indiana Jones, nice to meet you. Andor season 2, nice to meet you. Kit and Jade, an animated Willow story. Come here, my little baby. I want another one. Yeah. It's like that's what it would be like. I'd give it everything. So that's what I'm gonna remember Willow for. It really gave me something that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, beautifully said. Molly, how about you? What are you taking away from this?
I love shows and movies that feel like comfort food. And even though this was a lot of brand new characters, the first time I watched every episode, it felt like comfort food to me. It was like everything that I love. It had a fellowship, it had adventure, it had magic, it had royalty, evil queens, monsters, cool armor. Like it had everything that I could want from a fantasy show, and it was funny and cute and didn't take itself too seriously. So I can't stress enough that like to tell people, like, if you have any interest in it at all, give it a shot. Just give it a shot. Like you might fall in love with it and it might be your favorite show going forward. So I can't praise it enough.
Yeah, beautifully said. Chase, my friend, how about you?
I will say for me, it just proved that like, nothing's really original, but things can still be original-ish. You know what I mean? You can still recycle a bunch of things and come out with something that's as unique as Willow is. And I find that to be completely refreshing as an audience member, but also refreshing as a creator, kind of like what Nikki was talking about. So I feel completely inspired by it. And I feel kind of going back to the juxtapositions I was talking about earlier. I just feel comforted by it, but also like pushed by it. You know, I said from the first 2 episodes, I was like, damn, I was like, it did the same thing the movie did, which is make me feel like I'm perfect just the way I am and should always be striving to be better. Like, what the fuck? Like, sorry. Like, that's like hard. That's not.
That was the best endorsement I've ever heard.
Anyways, those are my final thoughts.
Adam, you go.
Look, ever since I watched this movie, it was taped off of television onto a VHS, like a lot of people back then. And that's how I was introduced to it. But then I got the DVD, and then later in life, I got the Blu-ray, and now I got the streaming show. But it's got to come full circle. I do want a physical release of this series, just like I want with the Star Wars shows.
Yes.
Please do that. Come on, guys.
Yes.
Like, we'll still subscribe. I'm not going to cancel my Disney Plus subscription just because I have the Blu-rays. Like, chill.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my final thoughts overall with the show is, I think by stepping back and showing what it could be like when you just let creators pursue something that they're passionate about, you get something special like the Willow series, which found an audience and also endeared the people who already love the movie. And you can see it right here. We have a mixture of folks who have watched it or found it like more recently, and it doesn't matter. The lack of gatekeeping with Willow is what makes it special. And that's kind of the fact that that's a unique fixture in fandom nowadays is sad and frustrating, but not in this case. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. And if you encounter a Willow gatekeeper out there, just approach them the same way Willow approached his enemies in the finale. I'm going to kill these blokes and just start blasting. Just go full Danny DeVito and start blasting.
Alatha Huatha.
Yeah, honestly.
Give him a mace to the face.
Chase's favorite line.
That's my favorite line. They got a mace to the face.
Oh, it's so good. Warwick, we love you. Now let's go back around the other way and rapid fire plugs. Adam, where can they find you and what you do?
So real quickly, am I allowed to drop a link in the chat? Is that cool?
Yeah, please.
My partner in crime and I, Marisol McKee, we started our own little channel in the wake of the Schmodown wrapping up, where we do film reviews and retrospectives. There's the link right there. Please subscribe, like, and watch our little videos. We're not trying to break the mold here. We're just trying to stay plugged into what we love. And we have our film favorites of 2022 up there right now. And then a deep dive retrospective on 2 films that celebrated their 30th anniversaries recently. Deep Cover from director Bill Duke and Singles from Cameron Crowe. Please check it out. And I hope to come back here when the time is right, Alden.
Oh, you absolutely will. You absolutely will. 2 of the most thoughtful people. You were engaged. It was engaging to watch you play and duke it out in trivia, but it's the conversations and what you bring to it. With your heart. So,
and one little thing, my first Schmodown match ever, I got a Willow question, and it was literally what year was it released? And I had multiple choice, so I hedged my bets because I was nervous. It was my first match, but I did get it right.
And it haunts you forever that you didn't.
No, I should have gotten 2 points. I should have gotten
2 points, man.
But I still got it right, but I was being too cautious. It's like, I don't know.
You were like, if I get this wrong, I'll never forgive myself.
Yeah, this could ruin my whole career. Yeah,
that is true. Chase, you've got a lot going on, including a new adventure for a show that we referenced when you weren't here. Molly dropped a Buffy spoiler purposely before you got here.
I was like, quick, before Chase gets here.
I love you. Thank you for getting that. You can find me on YouTube, That Gay Jedi on YouTube. Also the Pink Milk podcast and Fear Queers, where I'm doing a watch of Buffy for my first time, which I'm very excited about. My co-host is a big fan of it. So we are watching that together in conversation. Molly will be on an episode. Alden, anyone here, but Alden, I know you're a big fan too. So it'll be fun. And yeah, and socials on Instagram and Twitter at AKA That Gay Jedi.
Molly, you're on the internet sometimes.
I'm places. You can find me at Molly Damon on Twitter, Molly Mander on Instagram, me and Alex over on Star Wars Explained, talking about all the Star Wars happening. There's a ton of great Bad Batch episodes out there right now that we're covering and doing live streams every Wednesday talking about that. I'm also on a show called A Certain Point of View that we're just talking all kinds of pop culture. We're covering The Last of Us on Tuesdays right now, which has been really fun. We're only one episode in, but it's so good. I am very excited to talk about that game / show. So yeah.
Nice. Nikki, how about you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter if you so choose at Niquetius. You can follow me on Hive at Nicktifer. Nicktifer on Xbox Live. Swipe right on Tinder. The Imperial Senate podcast on a YouTube podcast. One and Done Film Club for franchise film conversations. A Rewatch Between Worlds on Octo Radio. And then just eat well, drink well, stay in Ruby Cruise for the rest of your life, and make good choices.
Love that. Maggie?
My socials are a mild bit of a mess because I made them all when I was 13. I am at Maggie Rachel, spelled Rachael on TikTok because my parents were weird and gave me a weird middle name. I'm Maggie Rachel _ on Instagram, where you will hopefully be seeing pictures of a Willow tattoo I'll be getting in the next couple of weeks. And I'm at Maggie _ Rachel on Twitter. And then you can find me on Collider.com for all of our Willow coverage and beyond. If you want to see more Willow stuff, I've interviewed the whole cast. I've talked to John Kasdan. I've talked to Christian Slater. I've written an entire piece about how much I love Borman. So if you are on that boat with me, feel free to look that up.
Love that. Love that. Your coverage has been absolutely wonderful. Everybody go check that out. Everyone's Twitter links are down below, and link trees and campsite bios, whatever they've got. So as for me personally, you can find me at that Alden Diaz, ThatAldenDiaz, everywhere you get your, I don't know, cantankerous no dad people. And then you can find Octo Radio, Star Wars Podcast, AHCHTO Radio on all your podcast platforms, my show, A Rewatch Between Worlds, all the other programming that we do, interviews, things like that. January sucks. I hate Januaries. It's probably my least favorite month. No offense if your birthday's in January. So it's been a slow start, but we are getting there. And then also here at Casterly Talk every week with Ken Knapsack, our gracious leader, who, if you're joining us in the back half or if you're listening after and you scrubbed through and you're like, where's Ken? He was here. Ken's the best. I can't thank him enough for giving me the reins for this entire season. I pushed him and I prodded him saying, we got to cover Willow. And then he was like, okay, do it. Go. Bring whoever you want. I brought these people. We will continue to bring in new people as we go for this show and all the others. It's been a huge blast. I wrote for StarTrek.com recently, been sending in pitches. You know how pitching is. It's not fun. So we'll see if I decide to do any of that. Some days I love content, some days I don't. But what I do love is talking with like-minded people about wonderful shows like this. It's been a pleasure. It has been really wonderful. And thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. I'll try to do more of these like laid back sort of party things as we go, because I like them more, quite frankly, than a lot of the weekly coverage stuff. But for right now, I will paraphrase Willow when I say, embrace your W's, embrace your L's. You pay for all of them in the end. And we will catch you next time right here on Casterly Talk.